And we are live. So we're here.
Well,
We're supposed to have started like 2 hours ago, probably. Be able to catch pretty much all the games, live reactions. But we're here. We've got live reactions to this absolutely crazy game that's been the Lions Seahawks. Lions offense is firing. We also got our week 4 reactions. We've got Calvin and special guest Preston.
I used to be the special guest, Preston. What's going on, man?
life's just been life, man. School, football, coaching a team. This is the first Monday I've had where I'm not doing anything in like 2 months. So,
Okay. Heard that. Heard that. Not getting in fights with security guards anymore.
uh, dude, that was No, we ain't doing that no more. We don't really.
That's a throwback right there.
Yeah, that is a throwback. I had to think about that.
That's an Easter egg for y'all. If y'all know, y'all know. Y'all are real fans if y'all know where that's from.
You are a real fan if you know.
People are gonna have to go back like 4 years to find that episode when we get famous.
Well, that's not even on our channel. That's on what was formerly the AC podcast when that happens. Now, day's not over.
He's not
Yeah, well,
over.
we'll
Shut
have
up.
to help you out when we get famous. Help you out if Aaron or whoever get his life together.
But anyway, what are y'all's thoughts of the Monday night slate right now before we get into the Bills Ravens game?
Thank God for the Lions offense, cause man, Miami looks stinky. They looking like one of those terrible primetime games that we've been getting. Seems like every week.
It's really just been the Thursday games. Like even that Cowboys game, it was a close game, but it was just terrible football.
I mean, it was the Cowboys and the Giants. What do you expect when two terrible teams square off?
This is true. I'm shocked the Cowboys this bad still, man. Like then again, my I was talking to my dad. He's a Cowboys fan the other day, and he was his reason for saying that they were so bad was play call. And I was like, I mean, it's hard to play call when you don't have a running back. Like they have Dowd and Elliott, but neither one of them are like a star back. I really like them not signing Derrick Henry ruined them.
I mean, it did, but their O line in general just isn't that good. They don't really create much push or create big holes for the run game. It's not the Cowboys teams that you've been used to where they're gonna have an O line that's gonna open things up no matter what. I think they thought they had that, so that's why they thought they could rock with who they have. But they just really on both sides of the ball, they just get dominated in the trenches.
That and when they do make a good play, they get called for holding. So
But I mean, hey, the Giants they suck, but Malik Neighbors looked incredible again until he had to leave the game. Just a shame for him that he's on a team that can't get in the end zone because they're so bad.
he can only do so much. It's like Odell Beckham Part 2.
Hey, I appreciate it because he on my fantasy team, so he has a long week of recovery. Hey man, I hope he gets well. Not because I want him to be back for fantasy, but because being concussed in what your fourth NFL game does not really bode well. You know what I mean? But I mean, Chris
Being
Olave,
concussed in general
had
is
like,
terrible.
I mean, hey, he concussed himself. To be honest, look, he concussed himself. Chris Olave had like 2 concussions last year, so I think he'll be alright. He'll be cool.
And I mean, the other good thing about it is it was like it's an avoidable concussion. That's just one of those he was doing everything he could to go make that catch. Yes, like it already happened. It's a concussion for him, but it's something that it's not like he's too aware. He just doesn't know how to get out of the way of hits or whatever. So hopefully he just doesn't do that again. But anyway, Bills versus Ravens. I think we got to get into that game.
Hey,
Man,
I think I
Derrick
mentioned.
Henry. We talked
I
about
think
it
I
last
mentioned.
week. The old running
Yep,
backs,
yep.
they're making a resurgence. Look what Derrick Henry just did to the Bills defense.
Longest run in Ravens history, by the way. For those who don't know, 87-yard touchdown. Um, I think we mentioned this 2 weeks ago too, Dave. Um, they just had to find the groove. They just had to. I believe we came to the conclusion that y'all are going to be a running team. Stop with the Zay Flowers bubble screens all the time. That's not who y'all are. Run the rock. Just keep on trusting King Henry. He will lead the way. And
I
lo
mean, I
and
think it also,
behold, here they are.
yeah, I think it also helps when you have Lamar Jackson. You know, you can kind of use the read option or Lamar running to your advantage because I mean the team has to be aware of him running as well. You know, and it kind of opens up some holes for Henry.
But it also poses a question: how how much do they need Mark Andrews? I mean, he seems like he's very, very, very important for blocking, but they're not really targeting the tight ends that much. Outside of Isaiah Likely's great week one, there hasn't been that many targets towards well any of them, Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely, and they're winning games now because of it. So I mean, it's kind of like for people who have Mark Andrews in fantasy, I ain't gonna lie, y'all might want to sell the guy. Um,
At Lexi,
unless unless he gets traded to the Saints, which I would really love that happen.
For
But
Foster Moreau, please.
please, for Jawan Johnson. See, here we go. Kelvin's talking about the Saints again. Uh, everybody get your shots out. Y'all finna die by the end of the night.
Yeah, we
Uh,
intentionally led off with this game instead of the Saints game, just because we wanted to mix it up, not always talk about the Saints first. But here we are.
here we
But
are.
well,
We're doing it.
back to Mark Andrews. I think there are two
at
things
least y'all
going
have some hope. I mean, at least you're a Patriots fan. You know, it's rough out
fair,
here this
but
year.
you also got all those rings, so I don't
Yeah,
think you
buddy,
have
you
much room
got
to
rings
complain.
and Tom Brady, bud. I had heartbreaking tears
Hey, but at
in
Y'all
least,
got
moments.
y'all
hey,
y'all
you
got
know,
a ring,
that's what I was gonna say. Going back to Falcons week always reminds me of how grateful I need to be because we have won a Super Bowl.
and we helped y'all beat and we beat the Falcons for y'all. You know, we did that for y'all.
You did do that.
That
That
was a
was an
lose
incredible
lose.
Super Bowl.
That was a
I'm
lose lose
sure
for me, but I loved
that
it
was
because
that,
of what you did to the Falcons. I loved it.
that was probably y'all's favorite Super Bowl of the Patriots. I mean, you can't lie.
Favorite one was 2009. I love that one. I love that one. That was the best one.
I'm saying one that the Patriots won.
That's fair.
Um, uh, no, I think beating the Rams in 2018 that was pretty fulfilling and only
That
That was
allowing.
that was a
that's
fulfilling game. My
true.
favorite is the 28-3 because that was hilarious seeing the Falcons lose like that, and it's just a good game. But seeing the Rams just put up that absolute stinker and McVay not be able to adjust to Belichick, that was fun to watch.
That was just a
Especially
boring Super
after
Bowl.
a
Though.
no call.
It was boring, but the result was fun to watch.
Fair enough.
Because I'll be honest, I didn't even really watch that game because I didn't care about it and it was a boring game. But I was so happy seeing the Rams just put up an absolute stinker in the Super Bowl after not deserving to get there. But anyway, what I wanted to say about Mark Andrews is he did just over a month ago have that car accident where he suffered some injuries from it. And I think he's still working his way back from that a little bit. So he probably will end up coming on stronger as the season progresses. They're going to get him involved. It's a little bit like Kelsey, where even before Rice got hurt, they wanted to target him more, get him more involved. They're going to find ways to work him in as he's fully healthy. But their offense, they realized last year's their theme was we want to throw the ball more, we want to spread it out, like we want to be multidimensional. This year they realized, hey, let's just go get Derrick Henry and just go run the ball a ton because nobody's going to be able to stop us, especially with how all of these defenses are built to stop the pass.
Let's go, Tony Pollard touchdown.
No, let's not go. I
That's
remember I
that's
told you
that's
told you
that's
before this
just
started,
solidified my win. 4-0. Here we come. Let's go.
bro. I almost came back. I was down 90 to 112. It was 102 to 112 before Tony Pollard decided to score a absolute garbage time touchdown. I need Kenneth Walker to score another one. Give me 50 points tonight, please. I need it.
Yeah, I had Rashee Rice in my two main leagues, so I'm sad.
Yeah, you kept me at the 2 seed this week, Dave. I'm mad at you.
Pick up Michael Thomas, y'all. Pick him up. Pick him up. Pick him up. Pick him up. I'm finna mislead everybody.
Pick
Yeah.
up Michael. This is crazy.
Yeah, reports are surfacing that Michael Thomas is going to be the new wide receiver one for the Chiefs. He has apparently great chemistry with Patrick Mahomes.
Also, let me mention, Dave, I heeded your advice about Bucky Irving. I picked him up in waivers, and somehow, some way, I pulled off a trade to get him off my team. Rashad White. Rashad White, I traded him. Crazy how this works out. I traded him straight up for Xavier Worthy. And then Rashee Rice does that. Talk about
You traded who?
Rashad White for Xavier Worthy.
That's insane.
That is insane. And I will say that is a funny trade for me because that is two players that this is obviously before the Rice injury that I was pretty big haters of. The only reason I was a hater of Worthy is if it was any other system, I'd be completely out on him. Since he is in the Chiefs, it's like at least he's going to get some explosive plays. But the track record, we talked about this before. The track record for those just complete speed receivers is absolutely terrible in the league. You've got the John Rosses of the league like that. We went through a whole list, but he's really, I've been really impressed with him because he's been able to do, like, whenever he touches the ball, it's so explosive that they are trying to get him the ball more. Like, the first 3 weeks of the season, he was really having low target volume, but if he did get a catch, he would do something big with it. Now that Rice is out, they're forced to give him more work, and that's going to be really great for his development that he's just able to be asked to do more than just be a speedster.
Hey, man. I think, I don't know, I feel like he can go one of two ways where his production doesn't really go up because maybe, well, they still have Juju Smith-Schuster, right? Pretty sure they do.
Yes,
Maybe
They
they
he
do.
do.
gets, yeah, maybe he gets more touches, which LOL, or maybe Sky Moore. I mean, I remember they were so high on Sky Moore. Like I kept hearing a bunch of Chiefs fans, "Oh, Sky Moore, he's gonna be so good." Um, Turns out that may not be true, at least not in this system. But I mean, I would really like to see. So I think Worthy's getting about 4 targets a game. If he can get to 8 targets a game, that would be fantastic. Um, for him, like you said, was development. Also for me, I'll be a little selfish. Also for me,
That's fair.
I get Rashad White off the team. I pick up Bucky Irving. I mean, this couldn't have went any better for me. It just couldn't. So the only way it can make this better is if they sign Michael Thomas. That's my take.
Well, yeah, if you were a Chiefs hater, make it better because he would, even with them having that incredible locker room, he'd still find a way to dismantle it.
He's not. Come on now. He's not a locker room cancer. We got to stop that narrative.
He is a little bit. It is overblown, but if he went to the Chiefs, I could see him easily becoming a locker room cancer if things didn't go well. Maybe not because
I
he's
think he
been away
kind of
for so
understands his
long,
role
but
now. Yeah, I think he understands his role now. I don't think he's gonna walk off the field like AB. If he does, that'd be hilarious. I ain't gonna lie.
I don't know.
But one,
He has taken a few too many hits to the head. He might be on that trajectory, as sad as it is, but
I mean, he threw a brick at a construction worker. That was one of the last things he left New Orleans with. I'm gonna throw a brick at a construction worker. So you know, hey, I respect it. I respect it. You know what? He bought his business. He stood on business, and he talked his trash to the media, which I do have my. Here we go, y'all. Drinking game. Calvin mentioned the Saints. I do have my reservations about Saints media members, but I ain't gonna get into that.
any in particular that you want to call out?
Nah, 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 nah. I just feel like there's a lot that could be better. I feel like they could be a little more transparent. And maybe it's not their fault. Maybe it's the team just being so secretive. But I just feel like the way the organization moves in terms of letting fans know about things and the whole training camp in Cali, that I hated that. Um I just feel like right now front office and fans are a little far apart, and then I feel like the media don't really make it better because they just kind of as secretive as the front office is. Um I just want people to be honest. I just feel like we just have a lot of media guys that just aren't honest with us. It's just either we're really bad or we're really good. They're just never like, hey, no, this is the situation. This is what it's gonna be, and I'm gonna tell it to you like this. So
I disagree with that because I feel like the Patriots media, like, because I keep up with it and like everything that's going on with Drake May. I mean, it's been straightforward, even before the season started. Because like now that Brissett's playing like ass, like our team stinks. There's no way around it. But everyone's calling for May, and like listen, it'd be cool to see a new rookie quarterback, and I think he's going to be really good. But with our offensive line, let's not do another Mac Jones situation and just ruin them. You know what I'm saying? And that's what the media from the Patriots side has been telling us all season.
Well, at
And
least
now
y'all
that
have a plan for the kid. We have Spencer Rattler, and we're sitting here acting like it's some big secret. Oh, we don't have a QB2. We're not doing it. Like, come on now. Like, that's just it's BS. It's BS. Don't
well, I
don't play
mean,
this game.
I feel like from what I've seen, everyone likes Spencer Rattler. I don't think people are denying that y'all don't have a QB2. I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing something there, but I feel like that. At least from preseason, he looked good, and a lot of y'all talked about him highly.
Well, it's
But
more that Jake Hayner, Dennis Allen, he's doing this thing where he's like, oh, we actually don't have a true QB2. Like, they're still in competition all year. And I'm like, that's BS. I mean, you drafted this guy. He clearly outplayed Hayner in preseason, and you just refuse to even mention him as a QB2. They got him holding the clipboard. He's an emergency QB3 right now, but they keep saying, "Oh no, he's not QB3. He's QB2B." Like we don't have a QB2. We don't have one because it's still a competition. Well, that's just BS. Like just let us
they're
know either
I mean,
well.
either he's
Then
that
ready or not.
again, they're not going to come out and say that because they want Spencer Rattler to still work and like earn his place as a rookie. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a Drake May situation where you're picked third overall and like you're the face of the franchise in the future. You know,
Yeah, but that's just
there's
Dennis Allen too, though. I mean, he has kind of been known to lie to the media a lot about things, whether it's downplaying an injury, whether it's downplaying someone's performance or role, or just all this. He is just terrible at handling the media. And I mean, if you want a great example, go look at after we beat the Falcons last week of the season last year. The offense goes and scores that touchdown at the end of the game. He goes and apologizes to the Falcons in the press conference. Like, that's our biggest rival, and you got players out there trying to get bonuses. Let them play.
I ain't gonna lie. I would have fired him for that. I'd be a ruthless owner, I guess. Maybe I'm David Tepper. Am I the problem?
Maybe so, but I mean, you were not wrong with that. A lot of the fan base, because, I mean, for one, a lot of people want him fired already. Then you're apologizing to the Falcons. Can't be doing that. But anyway, going back to that Bills Ravens game, I mean, I think what are your takeaways for the Bills?
I think they're fine. I just think that the Ravens are, uh, other than Kansas City, are the team to beat in the AFC East. Yeah, they got up to a slow start, but you see good teams do that all the time. You know, it's not unusual. They got kind of a new scheme on offense. They're figuring out themselves still, and I mean their defense hasn't been horrible. I mean the only question mark I have with them is the Raiders game because that game made absolutely zero sense. You know,
I think really what happened in that game was they just got bullied on the line by the Raiders D line, which is something that
it's
could kind of happen a little bit to the Ravens since they lost a lot of pieces on their own line from last year. That's could be the concern when they go up against these good D lines, but they've really started to figure this running game out and realize, hey, all we have to do is run the ball. It's that simple. And they have the personnel to just dominate in the run game. And they're really just starting to click and figure things out. So I think they're definitely one of the. It's hard to say for a team that started off the season 0-2 and they're now 2-2, but they're playing well. They're probably one of the teams to beat in the AFC for sure.
Well,
but the
for the
Bills. I mean,
Ravens, for the Ravens, good win for them, right? You beat the Bills, a team that's been charging ahead. They've looked great these past couple weeks. For the Bills, I wouldn't be worried. I mean, you're talking about it's the Ravens. It's the Ravens, and they've been a good team for the past couple years. And it's like Preston said, hey, they are one of the teams to beat in the AFC. I would just say for them, I mean, it's kind of the same thing like I told the Saints last week, right? Just keep staying the course, and you can't blow out everybody. You can't beat everybody. It was hard to go undefeated in the NFL. It is. It really is. Everybody's good, whether or not you want to admit it or not. Anybody can lose at any given point, unless you're playing the Panthers with Bryce Young starting. But like, I think the only thing I would say to them is I think they could get James Cook involved a little bit more. It seems like when they struggle, he's not really involved. Um, so keep him dialed in. I think he's probably one of the better receiving backs in the league right now. Um, he's definitely coming to his own. Um, and I would utilize him a little bit more.
I think that's fair, and I think really for the Ravens, the takeaway is just that they're progressing every week. They're getting better. They're looking like a more cohesive unit, and they're a team that they have a lot of change. They've got new defensive coordinator. They've got Derrick Henry, and they're kind of changing up how they run their offense. But I think it's been exciting to see how that's all come together. I think for the Bills, they're still a good team. This did kind of expose a couple holes they have where they have a lot of injuries on defense that are starting to catch up to them being that banged up. That's a trend with a lot of teams. We've seen a lot of injuries throughout the league this season. And I think the other thing that showed is maybe they do need a receiver. Despite them thinking that they didn't, maybe they could use a receiver because you have all these plays where a lot of the pressure was just getting home. The Ravens have done a great job so far, especially this week with getting their pass rush going, being able to create pressure, throw off the offense. But there were times where, whether there's pressure or not, Josh Allen would be able to scramble around and have enough time and then just not have any open receivers. I think if they want to, I don't know what the trade market's going to look like for receivers, but I know they don't want to overpay a guy like Diggs, but you need to have something there because Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel, it's just not cutting it so far.
Hey man, I heard Michael Thomas is available. I'm trying to get Michael Thomas on everybody's team, ain't I? For like no reason.
It would be fun to see him back on a team if he is playing well again. But sticking with the Saints, since we have to talk about them, I mean, there's no escaping them on this channel. We got the Saints
Okay,
losing to the
okay, wait,
Falcons.
wait, wait. Before we get into it, I gotta say these Lions uniforms are absolutely beautiful. I have to say it. I mean, good lord, the black helmet. I said black helmet. The blue helmet with the all black. I like that a lot. This is good shit. This is this probably moved up to my top four uniforms in the league. I ain't gonna lie. Maybe we talk about best uniforms in the league in another episode, but I just had to point that out. I got the game on the side.
We definitely
Um,
have to, and I mean, keep him with the Saints. I saw in a vote the Saints were either the NFC South or the NFC winner for best uniforms, and I saw in a link I saw to vote for them for like best uniforms in the league. So if the Lions had worn these before that poll went out, they would definitely be in the running. I think on the broadcast they actually said it's the first time in like 20 years they wore their black uniforms. They need to bring it back and wear that more. But
I like this.
moving on
That's
to
a
the
good one.
Saints. So they lose to the Falcons despite not letting up an offensive touchdown. Man,
Mhm.
Saints just every time they lose games like this, they just find creative new ways to lose. So I mean, props to them for making it entertaining that you can never guess how they're going to lose, but man, this is just terrible.
You say that we don't know how they're going to lose. We know how they're going to lose. We do because when we scored that last touchdown, I think most Saints fans kind of already knew what was going to happen. Yeah, they have under a minute left. Yeah, they have no timeouts, but it's the Saints timeout, and we didn't give up a single offense touchdown all game. We've been pretty solid in passing game all game. It would only be right for us to just do something stupid, and God damn it, Paulson Adebo, third defensive pass interference of the game, 30-yard penalty, which, by the way, I believe was the only yards that they actually got on that entire drive. This was that 30-yard penalty, and it was just enough. And for all y'all that know, Young Wei Koo does not miss against the Saints. I don't think I've ever seen his ass miss against the Saints. He'll miss against everybody else. If he playing the Saints, he ain't gonna miss. He could be a 75-yarder. He ain't gonna miss it if it's
And hey,
against the Saints.
I
I'll tell you that.
respect him for that because at least if we had a kicker, I want him to make his kicks against the Falcons. So at least he knows the
Well,
rivalry.
Yeah, well, it would be nice. It would be nice if Dennis Allen would just take his goddamn points. This is the second week in a row where I'm not going to blame it on Dennis Allen, but I felt like Dennis Allen decisions kind of amplified us losing a little bit. Like last week, right? We lose 15-12. If you kick your field goal instead of going for it on fourth down, 4th and 1, yeah, I get it. It's 1 yard, you should get it. But I mean, it's the Eagles D line has been whooping your ass all game. Take your points. This is a defensive game. In defensive games, you want to take every single point you can because in these games, every single point matters because you may not see another score for the rest of this game. And the score could have been 15-15. I would have been okay with going overtime for this game. If we would have kicked the field goal instead of going for it on fourth down, we would have won the game. Like,
Amon Rodgers scored a touchdown, by the way.
yes, he did. I saw it. I didn't want to say nothing. I didn't want to break nobody's hearts. But hey, the comeback is still alive. I'm down by 9. I need a 99-yard run right now from Kenneth Walker. I need it
Hey,
right
he's
here, right
kicking.
now.
You don't even need that
Need
much.
it.
You just need him to get a few PPR catches right here, gain a few yards, and then fall into the end zone. That's a win right there. But
That is a win. And
going
that's
back
all
to
that matters.
Dennis Allen, what you're saying, this loss is on him because going for it on fourth down there was absolutely stupid. I get it if you gain some yards on third down, it's close. Okay, you've got a shot close. If not, then they're really backed up and you have a chance to go for bring the heat, try and get a safety. Instead, they lose yardage on third down. It's 4th and medium to long from the goal line where it's already harder to score. Not only do we go for it on fourth down, but then we call a Pete Carmichael last play, goal line fade to Shaheed, who can't catch a contested ball to save his life. Like, what are we doing there?
6-foot receiver, under 6-foot receiver, actually fade route. And can we talk about the previous play that was also Pete Carmichael last play? You run a damn near toss pitch play to the right behind Trevor Penning and your backup guard. Are are you okay? Like at least the left guard and left tackle, at least those two are your starters. And you can argue they've been some of your best. I mean, obviously Eric McCoy has been your best, him and Fuega. But Lucas Patrick has not looked bad on as left guard. Not at all. I'll give him his props. But instead of running behind those two and doing it, you run behind a backup center, a backup guard, and Trevor Penning. I I didn't understand the play call. I mean, I did. You run the ball, get a little closer. But at that point, once that messed up, bro, you gotta take your points. You have to. You have to take the points. And then, of course, once again, goddamn man coverage on a game sealing drive on defense. We go into it and it backfires on us again. And look, I appreciate Adebo for getting all these picks. But the reason why he's getting all these picks is because they keep throwing the damn ball at him. And they're
Trayvon
probably throwing
Diggs.
the ball at him for a good reason. Trayvon Diggs, he gives me real strong Trayvon Diggs vibe right now. And I was high on Adebo. I was. He has some flashes. But at the end of the day, three DPIs, you should be getting benched. Look, here's a catch from Kenneth Walker, 10-yard catch, by the way. That's 2 points.
PPR.
Hey, PVR, we coming back. But I mean, I tweeted out, I said, y'all really thought that we drafted a cornerback in the second round for Marshawn Lattimore? No, absolutely not. I feel like this was the plan the whole time. Because Adebo, he's going to be asking for his money. And I'll be honest, I would still pay Marshawn 10 times out of 10 over Paulson Adebo. Because my dad said something about Marshawn. He said, I didn't even know he was playing. I said, well, that's what you want. I don't want my corner's name to be said the entire game. I don't want to see him. That tells me he's locking shit down. No one's throwing the ball at him. That's a perfect game, in my opinion. If a cornerback has 0-0-0-0-0 as a stat line and he played every snap, I'm gonna be happy with that. Because he's locking shit down. That's a Dion stat line. And I like that.
Well, it's like people say about offensive linemen. Like, if you don't want to be hearing about them. If you don't hear about a corner for the entire game, he had a good game because he is locking down whoever he's targeting. Like Pat Surtain just did against Garrett Wilson. Sorry for the brain fart right there, but that's a good game because it wasn't about him getting flashy picks or anything. He just shut down their number one receiver and made it so they had to find other options on offense to get the ball to. They were able to shut down the run game, and then they go win the game. But the Saints, it's just so frustrating because it was just stupidity was how we lost this game. The defense, besides that one drive where we run press man when they have 30 seconds left, no timeouts, and need to get into field goal range only. We played a great game defensively otherwise, keeping them out of the end zone completely, making life hard for them, shutting down the run game, besides Tyler Algier at the end of the game, which part of that was just because of these injuries that we have where our number one linebacker is out, Demario Davis. Then the replacement, Willie Gay, goes out. Tyrann Mathieu, he goes out. Like the whole middle of our defense is getting hurt. Almonte Taylor even gets banged up. The medical and training staff has to go because the amount of injuries we have every year is ridiculous. But defense played well that game on the whole. Offense played all right. It's a game you should be winning, but you have Rashid Shaheed trying to field a punt from the 3-yard line for whatever reason, and having to make a tough catch too. He muffs it. They score a touchdown. That's how they get their first touchdown. Second touchdown of the game. Get a free rusher on Derek Carr, and he tries to throw the ball around the rusher. I believe it is Judon, and it gets deflected in the air off of Judon. It gets picked off by the Falcons. They run it back. There's no reason to make that throw. So, like Preston loves to say, from what Belichick said on the McAfee show, what is the upside to making this throw? If you complete it, maybe gain a yard or two. If it's incomplete, sure, you avoid the sack. If it gets picked off, it's a pick six because you have no one in position to make a tackle and stop them. The Falcons get another free touchdown like that. And it's just dumb mistakes like that. Then calling a stupid play call, going for it on fourth down, calling a stupid play call on defense. And then that's another game where the Saints beat themselves. All of a sudden, that's 2 weeks in a row where very winnable games, both based off opponent and situation, they lose. How's it going to look when we get to week 16? Are we going to be locked into the playoffs, or are those losses going to be costing us like the Packers lost last year, or like any of those other losses you want to name last year? It's just, you can't keep doing this year in and year out.
There's a stat. I'm going to say these two stats. So the Saints defense has only allowed 47 points in 4 games, 4 touchdowns through these 4 games, and yet we are 2-2. And then this is a stat that I'm glad that I saw because I was wondering because I was like, I feel like anytime when the Saints defense is on the field last, we lose the game. So the Saints are 0-4 under Dennis Allen when an opponent starts the drive with between 2 minutes and 30 seconds and 1 minute left, and the Saints are ahead by 6 or less. And those losses are 2022 in Tampa, 2022 in Cincy, last week against the Eagles, and this week. So, I mean, there's really no point in playing great defense all game because no one's going to remember that you played great defense all game. Nobody cares you didn't allow a touchdown all game. You had a crucial DPI. And I mean, I just feel like Dennis Allen, he's kind of soft as a coach because I don't really know a lot of coaches that's going to keep their corner in, especially on man press coverage when he's gotten 2 pass interferences already. And we've seen Kool-Aid come in the game for Alante. He held it down. I just don't see. I don't know. I feel like Debo probably has one more bad week in him, and then maybe we go for Kool-Aid. But I mean, it's pretty telling. I mean, we talked about stealing wins in the first week, but we didn't talk about getting wins stolen from you because you've given them away. I mean, the team is just it's bonkers just to see how they just go about this. And I'm looking at like, okay, pass rush has fallen off. I mean, so like look at the Ravens, right? They started 0-2. People are like, "Oh, what's going on?" But they're trending up. Saints start 2-0, and everybody's like, "Oh, okay, surprising us." And then they drop their next 2. They're going down. And it's like Clint Kubiak couldn't have been figured out already, can he? Can't
He
be.
he hasn't, but I do want to say something to that. Kubiak isn't figured out, but it's pretty obvious when he's gonna have a rough game. We have the highest rush percentage in the entire league. Like we try to run the ball the most out of any team because that's the cornerstone of our offense. It's built off of the zone runs that Shanahan does and that whole entire scheme where you get the run game going and then you run play action off of that. Well, the past 2 weeks, we haven't been able to get the run game going, in large part due to O-line injuries and also just tougher matchups running the ball than the Cowboys and the Panthers. And as a result, that throws the whole entire offense out of whack. That's something that he needs to be able to adjust to, and Carr needs to be able to adjust to as well. If the run game isn't firing like you want it to be, one, stop running the ball to the right every single play when it gets stopped for 1 yard at most every single play. And secondly, adjust, get some, if you're getting heavy pressure brought on you like the Eagles did, get the quick passing game going, which that's something that Derek Carr needs to work on too because he just panics like crazy when he's under pressure. He really doesn't do a good job of finding open receivers, replacing the blitzer, and that's something that when I was listening to the Athletic Football podcast, they're commenting Jaden Daniels, a rookie, on. He did a great job in this week at replacing the blitzer and going and saying, hey, if I'm being blitzed by this guy, this space is going to be open. Well, Derek Carr's been in the league forever. He needs to figure out how to do that instead of just panicking under pressure, throwing a pick six off of a deflection. But the Saints, I mean, it's just frustrating how there's still so much that needs to be worked on that has been problems last year. That's been a problem the year before. That's a problem the year before. We've had the same coaching staff minus our offensive coordinator for a while now. This is the same team, same personnel. If you're having the same issues, then that just means that changes need to be made.
You know, you said something there, right? And I mentioned it when I was talking to one of my friends after the game. I said, man, I hate how perfect everything has to be for Derek Carr to operate. Because we're sitting here, I think there was like this stat with him that he has like some of the most game-winning drives. And of course, right, he was playing from behind a lot with the Raiders, so I think that number is a bit skewed. But I don't ever feel I have not seen a 2-minute drill get successfully completed by Derek Carr all year. And I feel like once you ask him to step outside of this very, 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 very sensitive bubble that we have him in. Oh, it was like we lost Preston. Shout out. Sure, hop back in. But anyway, um, whenever we lose this very tight bubble or ask him to step out of this bubble of, all right, this route has to be perfectly timed. Okay, the protection has to hold up for this amount of time. It's like what you said, he panics. And last week when he threw that pick against the Eagles, man, we still had about a minute left. It wasn't fourth down. You didn't need to make that throw. You didn't need to force that throw. You don't need to get 50 yards every single play, every single pass. You don't need to. And I just hate how immobile he looks too. It's horrid. I hate looking at his weak pocket presence. He steps up, he gets sacked, he tries to run out, he gets sacked. It looks awful. I'm like, this guy looks slower than Drew Brees. And I didn't think that was possible. And hey, Drew Brees is a hell of an athlete now on the
Slower than
slick.
Drew Brees, and he has a worse vertical too, as Vilma was
Worst
talking
vertical.
about when he tried the little up and over that Brees would do. He didn't get up.
That was awful. And I was like, first of all, we're running now on like the 2 yard line. That was beyond idiotic. And then we run a QB sneak and then get it. So I'm like, okay, this is some odd things I'm watching. But for Derek Carr, man, you're in year what 11? You're 12. Why? Why are we still having issues with you getting rushed and you panic? Why are we still having issues with you not being able to navigate the pocket? Why are we still having issues when we need you to go out, win a game? You're gonna make some stupid ass throw. I mean, this isn't a rookie. All the things that you mentioned about him, he gets rushed, he gets panicked. I mean, that's something you see out of rookies, and it's like we said with Jaden Daniels. Like Jaden Daniels doesn't panic. Jaden Daniels doesn't make the stupid throw because he gets rushed. Plays aren't going to be perfect. There's going to be a free rush sometimes because coverage, because the protection gets busted. There's going to be a route that gets bumped and the timing is going to be off. But you not being able to IAO, improvise, adapt, and overcome whatsoever as a starting quarterback is scary. And it's really scary that there's also another stat, which is if Drew, I said Drew, good Lord, I did not mean to see. No, no. If Derek Carr throws the ball over 27 times, the Saints have like a 30% win percentage. If he throws the ball under 20 times, we have something crazy like a 70 or 80% win percentage. To me, that's not okay. If my quarterback isn't throwing the ball, we win the game. I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense for everybody. But 27 attempts, that's not even really a super crazy amount in today's league. I mean, Jared Goff right here in a very heavy run offense. I think he has like 23 passes thrown tonight. So like 27 is not crazy. So I know we're not going to see Spencer Rattler this year, right? But I mean, Derek Carr isn't all the problem. Yeah, I think he's doing fine. I still think he's doing better than last year. He's just making the throws that he's supposed to make. He's underthrown a few balls. We did see that one play where even the announcers was like, where the hell was he throwing the ball? Like it just sailed on him. And it did. It was an awful throw. Um, he rushed the throw. I don't think he needed to rush the throw, but he did. Um, so for him, man, I'm just tired of seeing those mistakes. I'm Clint he had a great first couple weeks, but it seems to me as if Clint's game plan, well, Clint's game plan is going to be Clint's game plan, and if it doesn't go the way it's supposed to, he's still going to keep grinding out this game plan because it seems like he's like, hey, I made this plan, I'm going to stay with this plan, and I haven't really seen a lot of adapting from him because we had some injuries last week, right? Crucial injuries on the O line. Seems like he didn't change protections. He kept trying to run to the weak side of the offense, which is the right side of the line. And even this week, he's still doing it. Late game situations, he's trying to run to the right. And I'm like, is he just calling these plays as if we're a completely healthy team? Or why in the world is Chris Olave not get Rashid Shaheed had 8 catches. 8. I love Rashid Shaheed a lot. He should not be getting 8 catches a game. That's just the reality of the situation.
He shouldn't, but that
And
kind of goes to our receiver room where he's our like bona fide number 2 receiver. He's not just he's a number 2 because of his talent, but we have other guys that'll get targets. No, he is like our number 2 option. I mean, you could call Kamara the number 2 option in the receiving game if you want, but you've got Olave as your number 1. Who else do you got? You got Shaheed. He's supposed to just be kind of our gadget deep threat, but I mean, props to him for doing more in intermediate routes. But who else do you got? Last game you had Jawan Johnson.
nope.
I don't think you
Mason
call him a number
Tipton.
2. You got
You got Mason Tipton, another undrafted guy. You got Bub Means, former teammate of mine. Shout out to Bub. Uh, and that's
Jamal
you
Williams.
got you got
If he
A.T. Perry, who keeps getting healthy scratches.
mm,
So I mean,
which sucks 'cause I thought that he could be really good for this team, but he gets healthy scratches and he also just gets hurt all the time. So he's really a perfect saint. But
I guess
it's
he's
just
taking the
tough.
late Michael Thomas route. I guess.
I mean, people did say he was the Michael Thomas replacement. I think he just took that to heart too much. But we've
I think he
talked
did, unfortunately.
we've talked about the Saints way too much. I mean, I know this is a Saints show pretty much at this point, but we do got to move on. I do want to say, shout out the Lions defense making a 4th down stand on the goal line. The um the Seahawks had 4 attempts from the 3-yard line, and they just throw the ball 4 times.
Yep. Should have ran it with Kenny Walker. See? Should have helped me out a little bit, y'all. Damn it.
4 pass attempts from the 3-yard line. You would think Pete Carmichael was still the coach there, but no, they just didn't learn any lessons from that Super Bowl. Guess new staff, this has got to be their time to learn that lesson. If you got a great running back and you're on the goal line, maybe try running the ball at least once. But anyway, moving on to one of the most exciting games of the week for absolutely no reason with how the first half went. The Vikings winning a close one against the Packers when it looked like it was going to be a blowout.
Hey, man. Maybe I was wrong. You said the Vikings were for real. I said they were not. And they blow out Green Bay in the first half. And, they scored enough points to where even though Green Bay did surge back, it just didn't matter. And it's just too many points. Too many points to overcome. Jordan Love threw 3 interceptions, 4 touchdowns though. Um, very surprised that he's playing. By the way, shout out to him.
I'm too,
Um,
and surprised at how tough he looked. Like he clearly struggled on some of those throws when he had to really put pressure on that knee and use that to generate power. And he was put in some tough situations, having to move around with the heavy blitz they're coming at him. There's times where he clearly wasn't fully comfortable on that knee, but he stood in there and he was tough. He took hits. He like didn't panic at all because of pressure. That was a gritty performance coming off that knee injury, but good for him, and he's gonna have improved
ooh,
games moving on.
speaking of gritty, Geno Smith just got absolutely murdered. He's still on the ground. Uh, that didn't look good. I think he probably got the wind knocked out of him, but that was a crazy hit. They probably 100% just threw a roughing the passer because you hit the quarterback too hard, it's roughing the passer. Um, hope Geno's good. Geno looks very athletic right now, man, and I hate it because Derek Carr looks awful and slow. Um, but Geno's back up, so yeah, there you go, toughness. He got right back up.
It is toughness. It's also what you just hate to see at the end of these games like this, where it's pretty much just garbage time, but they're trying to claw back. Guys getting hurt.
Man, Sean Payton will pay for his crimes. We already had that game one, garbage time, and you call that damn run play, and Michael Thomas gets his ankle stepped on, and that was it. That was the downfall of Michael Thomas.
Everyone
Because
take your shot.
Sean Payton wanted to get greedy. What a sad, sad tale. He was off them perks, and he caused some dumb shit. But hey, man, that's how the cookie crumbles. But um, the Vikings, man, that's exciting. That's that. They don't even have T.J. Hawkinson back yet, so that offense is only gonna get better. And hey, man, I am okay to admit when I'm wrong. Geno just threw a pick. This is game over. Ball game. Ball up top. Seattle is no longer gonna be undefeated. Um, my team, fantasy, we fought back hard. We were down by like 50. We fought back. We lost by 7. I should have started Baker Mayfield. Started Kyler Murray. Ah,
Man,
should have
that's a
started
tough
Chuba
one
Hubbard.
because I mean, Kyler should have gone off against that defense, but we're gonna get to that later because that was a huge game for the Commanders. But man, I had Kyler starting too in one of my main leagues, and that sucked.
It sucks. I should have started Chuba Hubbard. I made a last second switch from Rashad White starting to Bucky Irving starting. Um, but I had Chuba Hubbard and I didn't start him. I didn't start him. Maybe just because I still just don't trust the Panthers. And I know the second I start him, he's probably gonna get 2 points. But he's gotten 20 like the last 3 weeks. Maybe I should start him next week. If I would have started him, or if I would have started Baker Mayfield, I would have won this game. But it is what it is. Um, but uh, yeah, I mean, shout out to the Vikings. Shout out to the Vikings. The sleeper team, I guess, of the league. Um, Interesting to see how JJ McCarthy is gonna come in and I mean, we already talked about it. I'm not even gonna go into it. If y'all don't know what I'm finna talk about, go watch last week's. We talked about it. Um, Green Bay though, with a hurt quarterback, came back, fought back, clawed back. Now you can argue that maybe the defense let up a little bit, but I ain't gonna lie, man. I'm a little more scared of that Vikings defense because somehow, some way, they still have a great defense. Um, and man,
Huge shout out to B-Flow. He has that defense absolutely cooking. I mean, you just gotta love what he's doing. He's just being aggressive, just coming at them with the blitz. He's saying, hey, we're going to blitz you. We're going to put pressure on you. You got to go make decisions fast. You got to go make the aggressive throws. And that's what Jordan Love tried to do. He tried to make those aggressive throws to go beat the blitz. And that's where he got intercepted. There's going to be times where they're going to get beat because you're going to have corners off on an island. You're going to have guys getting one-on-one coverage again that probably should be covered more tightly. But what he's betting is that the blitz is going to get home fast enough, and it has been working. Like, they have the highest pressure rate in the league, and I think the highest pressure success rate in the league. And the pressure just gets home in time to cover up the holes that they have in their defense. But another big reason why it's so successful is they do such a good job of mixing up looks. They'll mix up where the linebackers are creeping down. They'll have them both in the A gap one play, then on the A and B gap on the right side one play, and then neither of them will come for that play, but the next play they'll both blitz, and you'll have twists and stunts with the D line. They just do a really good job of disguising where the pressure is going to come from, but more importantly, making you have to respect that the pressure could come from anywhere. And that was, we talked about it last week. They did really successfully against the Texans. They were bringing a lot of pressure to the point that the Texans would full slide to the side that was showing pressure in an attempt to stop it. So then, whenever the Vikings would do that and back off, the end on the side opposite the slide would end up in a one-on-one matchup against the tight end and be able. They were getting home more effectively when they didn't blitz than when they did because the Texans were overcompensating, trying to pick up those pressures. I think, obviously, as more tape comes out on them, teams will be able to adjust better, but Brian Flores has just done such a great job with that defense, and they have a lot of talent, too, and he's just put it to use really well in creative ways so that the offense is always having to just think for that one extra second.
hey man, stealing wins 4-0. Whenever they start coming back down to earth, if they ever do, you got to be happy about it because you start off 4-0. You have a bigger net. These wins gets you a bigger net. While take your shot. While the Saints, on the other hand, their net has faltered because now we're in a position where now you play the Chiefs, who, mind you, still don't really scare me offensively, and they're missing their best receiver. You kind of in that position that you were with the Eagles, where okay, they're missing one of their big receivers. You should be able to handle this, especially with the crazy ass DB room that you have. But god damn it, can we please just start putting Marshawn Lattimore on the fucking best receiver? Can't we just do that? Just have him shadow the guy all damn game. Can we do that? I'm tired of seeing Adebo's ass get fucking cooked by damn Darnell Mooney just out of the blue. I'm tired of seeing him get cooked by someone else or hell, CD Lamb, whoever the hell, whoever's wide receiver one, or Gil Payne. I'm tired of seeing it. Anyway, um,
Well, that's the thing. We did that last week. We had Lattimore at the end of the game. He was on Drake London. He wasn't even an option there, so you just throw it to Mooney, who Debo was on.
man, put Kool-Aid in the damn game. Put Kool-Aid in the game. But you know, they're in a position where now you're going against the Chiefs, probably an L, because Andy Reid's probably going to coach circles around Dennis Allen's ass. And then Steve Spagnuolo is also probably going to coach circles around Dennis Allen's ass. Maybe Clint Kubiak can work some up against Spagnuolo, but it's not like Spagnuolo doesn't have experience dealing with a Shanahan type offense, right? So he neutralized it with the 49ers. You know, it's going to be a little tough. Chris Jones, I'm absolutely terrified of what he's going to do. As Chris Jones moves around, he's like, nope, I want this offensive lineman, and I fear that offensive lineman is probably gonna be someone on the right side. I ain't gonna say no names, but it's probably gonna be one of them, or it might just be the center. And
You
he's gonna
know,
eat.
I see a path for one of our linemen in particular to go beat Chris Jones. So, we have a certain O lineman who has a propensity to get into fights, and maybe this is the game for that to happen and have a double ejection. Again,
So
not going to
basically,
name any names, but
have him do the Darius Slay play, where we take him out the game using him, uh, and then we score. I don't know. I don't know if Chris Jones will fall for it. Maybe, but I would love it if it happened. But yeah, I mean, you're looking at a team that should be 4-0 versus a team that is 4-0 because they handle business. So
and I will say this is the perfect segue to the Chiefs, who I want to talk about. But before we get to them, I do want to give some flowers to Sam Darnold. I mean, he's just looking like an actual good quarterback. And this is what was being said with Malik Willis when he looked good with the Packers. This is said with Baker Mayfield when he left Carolina, went to the Rams, and then now in Tampa. You can say this with so many quarterbacks. Put a quarterback in a good situation, and chances are they're going to look, at the very least, a lot better than they did in their previous situation. And look at Sam Darnold right here. But props to him. It's not just the situation. He also is just making really good throws. He's not making the mistakes that he would make when he is at the Jets. He's taking care of the ball. He's making good throws. And Kevin O'Connell has done an incredible job with that offense. Darnold's first 8 completions to that game were to 8 different players. That's a Drew Brees offense right there, where every single player can get the ball. Every single player is a legitimate target. Even when you have an alpha number 1 receiver in Justin Jefferson, the ball's not just going to be forced to him. He'll eat, he'll get his targets, but it's not force feeding him. It's when he's just legitimately open because the offense is just schemed up in a really great way. And I just want to give a shout out to Darnold for how well he's been playing, and shout out to O'Connell for being able to implement his offense well.
shout out Sam Darnold, y'all. Do we have Let me see. Do we have uh the sound? Let me see. I don't even remember how to do it. This is such an old moment for me. I don't remember how to put up the damn soundboard. I used to be able to do this really quickly, and I can't do it. So
Turn
if
it
y'all
into
hear
Aaron.
random ass claps, yeah, literally though. If y'all hear random ass claps in the middle of this, that was me giving out the claps for not giving out the clap. Don't can't say that. Yeah, no.
Hold
Not
up
giving that
there.
out. Giving applause to Sam Darnold. That's wild. Cut that shit out. Don't cut it out. Leave it in. It's kind of funny.
Cut that shit out. We're live right now, so.
Yeah,
So
don't cut it. I
Calvin
wouldn't
gives
want you
out
to
the
cut it.
claps. But anyway,
No, 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 no.
you heard it
Hell
here
no.
first.
Hell
Calvin
no.
gives out the claps, but
Man, Aaron's gonna hear that and he gonna clip it. You know that. He's gonna do it.
well, he could have heard that if he was here. He had an open invite, but he said it's his bedtime. He's old. He can't stay up
Lame.
this late. I mean, what
Lame.
do you expect? Let's talk about the Chiefs. I mean, there's not really that much to talk about in this game as a whole. It was another Chiefs game. It was a defensive battle. It was absolutely defensive battle. And that seems to be the theme with this Chiefs team. They have a really good defense, and that's the focal point of this team. I know everyone always will view the Chiefs as an offensive team because they have Mahomes, because of what their offense has been, but they are a defense-first team now, and I mean, credit to them, it's working, but I mean, it's tough to get a read on them. So, I mean, on the one hand, they just lost Rashee Rice. They haven't confirmed that it's a torn ACL yet. That's a speculation. As a Rashee Rice owner, I'm still holding out to the little bit of hope that maybe it's not and he'll come back. But realistically, they're without him. They kind of are running out of weapons on offense. They're going to get Pacheco back at some point, but They have absolutely no running game right now. I mean, Kareem Hunt's their RB1 this past game. Carson Steele, I think he's just dead because he just can't hang on to the football. But receiving wise, Kelsey had a resurgence, 7 for 89. Xavier Worthy, he had 3 receptions, 73 yards, 1 touchdown on 4 targets. We talked about earlier him getting more targets. We'll see if he does. I mean, there's a chance that he doesn't, and this is just the player that he is. He's there for a few explosive plays. If it connects, it's awesome. If it doesn't, then he doesn't really do much. It's kind of like Shaheed, but hopefully he doesn't muff any punts on the 3-yard line. But anyway, this Chiefs team, on the one hand, like we're saying, they're winning games. Their defense looks good. On the other hand, it's been close games every time. Another 1-score game win, and a game that was close the entire time. The Chargers just couldn't really get anything going on offense after starting off looking pretty good. They just couldn't get anything clicking. I mean, this Chargers team, you know what they are. They want to run the ball on you a ton. If they can't run it successfully, that passing game is just not there because, like the Chiefs, they don't have any weapons, but they don't even have a Travis Kelce. Lad McConkey was their leading receiver. Second leading receiver was Josh Palmer. Third leading receiver, J.K. Dobbins. Fourth, Will Dissly. So, not a passing offense at all. But it's really interesting to see with this Chiefs team that they are a fully defensive team now. What do you think about them?
Like I said earlier, as I alluded to earlier, I'm not really scared of their offense. Famous last words. Um, I mean, the Saints have kind of proven that they can't win in defensive games. Either they just get out physical, get out gritted, out wanted, whatever the case may be. Seems like the Saints do not have the heart to win close games. They don't have it. I mean, you're losing close games to the goddamn Falcons and a very depleted Eagles team with Jalen turn the ball over Hurts. I, you know, it just it doesn't bode well, and I don't believe in the pass rush to get to Mahomes. I don't think Dennis is gonna because Dennis seems like he's called less blitzes. Maybe I'm just tripping. I think we get Demario back next week. I think Alontae Taylor's gonna be fine. Willie Gay's not gonna be playing. Seems like he just went through a surgery or he's in the hospital with a sling. Um, Tyrann Matthews should be good next week. Taysom Hill probably recollapsed his lung or whatever for those 2 touchdowns. 100% worth it. I'm sure he thinks it's worth it too. Um, don't like we're gonna have him again. So I mean, we're going in depleted. The Chiefs team, they always find ways. They just have championship DNA. They're like the Warriors, right? They're like roaches. They can't go away because they've won so much. They just know how to do it, even in terrible situations. And do I believe in a team that's ran by Dennis Allen to go against a team like that and find a way? No, not really. But I will say, as bleak as I'm sounding, there is a way to victory. Because, like I said, I believe in the Saints back end. I do. I believe in Tyrann
Pause.
Matthew. There ain't no pause. Fast forward. Straight Diddy party. I believe in him. I believe in Tyrann Matthew. I believe in Jordan Howden / Will Harris. I believe in Adebo slightly less, a lot less. I believe in Kool-Aid. I believe in Eli Taylor. I believe in Marshawn Lattimore. I believe in Demario Davis. I believe in Pete Werner. I don't believe in the front four. I don't. But if we're going to be playing coverage, I low key like our odds against Xavier Worthy, Juju Smith Schuster, Kareem Hunt, Carson Steele. Did I say Travis Kelsey already? I think I did. If I did or didn't, whatever.
You actually
And Xavier
didn't,
Worthy.
but
Oh well, there you go. Travis Kelsey. I like my odds against that group. No, I don't. I say that this would be the game Travis Kelsey wakes up.
I mean, we
He
can't
probably
cover
saw that
tight
almost
ends.
yeah, man, almost 200 yards given to Dallas damn Goddard. Dallas Goddard's no slouch, but he's also no Travis Kelsey. Um, this would just be so poetic, wouldn't it? Right? Monday Night Football, Taylor Swift's watching, and then goddamn Travis Kelce goes off for 200 yards. I mean, I can already see the damn script. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But I still like the odds. If you can just contain Kelce, if you can contain Xavier Worthy, who can beat you? The D line just has to find time. Find time. They just have to eliminate time. They have to get there. But the Chiefs,
I mean,
my dad told me this. He said if you're winning games closely all the time, you are bound to start losing. So there's been a lot of tough grinds, tough battles for them. At what point is their luck? And it's not like they've been winning against super crazy good teams. I mean, it's the Chargers they barely went against. They barely beat the Falcons. You know what I mean? Like,
well, look, there's two sides to that coin. On the one hand, you would expect some regression to the mean when you're winning all these close games. And you see that pretty often with teams. They'll win a bunch of close games one year, and the next year, all of a sudden, they start losing those games and they have a down year. On the other side, they are the Chiefs. They have a really good defense. They have Mahomes. They're a playoff team, and they're probably one of the best teams in the league. So winning these games early on ugly, if they can get everything figured out, you'd rather win ugly early on than lose pretty, because you need those wins, as the Saints have shown you and as countless teams have shown you. Get those wins early on, and you can smooth out the kinks as the year progresses. And if you don't do that, it's going to come back to bite you when you're trying to make the playoffs. But the Chiefs offense, I mean, I thought this before Rasheed went down, who's been their best player on offense. They just feel neutered. They don't really have much of a threat. They get a few explosive plays to Worthy or whatever, but they don't really have that explosiveness, and part of that is the way teams defend them. They go too high pretty much every play. They say, we want to see you go drive down the field and go score a touchdown on us on a 10-play drive. Go check it down if you have to. Go run the ball, especially now that Pacheco's out, because he was so huge for them having a good running threat to be able to open up the offense a little bit more. But there's really no explosiveness in this offense right now. I know Worthy will make some plays, but they don't have that. They don't put up a lot of points. They don't do much. It just feels like a neutered offense, and that's something that for the entire season they're going to need to figure out if they want to go win in the playoffs, go get the three-peat, be the first team to ever do that. They've got to figure something out. They also got to figure out how to stay healthy, because they've been having a lot more injuries this year than they normally do. Their number one receiver out, their number one running back out for at least a few more weeks. It's been a tough go, but looking forward to the Saints matchup. Man, it is a very winnable game for the Saints, like every game has been so far. The blueprint's certainly there. It's going to be a defensive struggle. Two good defenses going against two kind of struggling offenses the past couple weeks. I mean, the whole season really for the Chiefs, but I trust their offense more in this game because Mahomes is a better quarterback, and they do have Kelce, which if it was a receiver, like if Kelce was hurt and Rashee Rice was healthy, I would feel a lot better about this matchup, even though Rice has been better, just because we can shut down a receiver. If they have one guy, we can go put Lattimore on him. We can help if we need to. Just maybe don't put a Debo on him, as we've seen, and we can go shut that down. If the team only has a tight end left, well, the Eagles only had Goddard, and they still just fed him, and we couldn't stop him. That's a matchup that kind of scares me a little bit since we struggle covering tight ends. We need to figure that out, but other than that, I'm looking for it to be a defensive game probably, and it comes down to which team's going to execute better. I think we definitely could win that game if we can just make a few plays against that defense, go score. We could. Will we do that? It's going to be tough because they have a really good defensive line. We have a really banged up offensive line. That is a very bad matchup. And then there's the fact that we just like to beat ourselves. And when it's a close defensive battle, you can't beat yourself because that one touchdown can be the difference. One muff punt, one pick six, one blown assignment. So it's a game that we have to lock in, but I think it is definitely winnable at the very least. But sticking in the NFC South, do want to talk about the Bucks Eagles game really quick. I mean, hey, we had a bad team go lose to what looks like a good team. Is that how you'd say it?
Man, I'm salty. Um, I'm finna be real petty with this analysis. Um, Shout out Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts. What the fuck? There you go. That's my riveting analysis for two teams. One I don't like, and the other one that beat the Saints last week in a game they shouldn't have won. Um, hey, no AJ Brown, no Devontae Smith. Oh, and when you know it, Dallas Goddard didn't have 200 goddamn yards. Who would have thought, right? Who would have imagined that you could stop a team that doesn't have their top two receivers and lock down their tight end, their only other receiving option. Who would have thought that, right?
Who would have thought?
Maybe Todd Bowles is just smarter than Dennis Allen. I don't know. Maybe maybe the Bucks just wanted more. You know, I don't know. Well, I say that I'm just being salty, man. I think that's just my analysis. I'm just being salty because the Bucks put up 33 against the Eagles, and like, are we really going to do this shit again, where we just allow the Bucks to just freely step into first place and just stay there and not really have to do anything because the NFC South just beats themselves just way too much. I mean, there is no way in hell the Bucks should be winning this. They are. It seems to me like they're doing the bare minimum and still winning the division because Saints should be 4-0. They should be. To be honest. And you're right. Maybe we look a little suspect. The Cowboys aren't. They seem to be. They're not as good as they once were.
They
And the
suck.
Eagles, yeah, they suck. And then the Eagles, they suck. So we've won against two bad teams apparently, and we've lost against two bad teams apparently. So where the hell are we? Drink your drinks, y'all. Where the hell are the Saints out on the spectrum? I still don't know. I hate it because I see. It seems like every year I'm saying this. We should be 4-0. We should be. And god damn it, I hate the way we lose. I hate it. Eagles, you lost to the Bucks. I mean, I don't even know what to tell y'all. I'll just tell y'all get healthy because
Hey,
I
I
I
do
understand.
appreciate you finally admitting that the Eagles suck. I think I said it before they beat us. I said it after they beat us, and I'll reiterate it after they get blown out by the Bucks. They are a bad team. They're poorly coached. Sirianni, he's clearly not a good head coach. He clearly just can't get this team firing anymore. And I think Kellen Moore is one of the most overrated offensive coordinators maybe ever at this point. Because he's like, when he's at the Cowboys, everyone hypes him up or whatever. Then he goes to the Chargers. Cowboys get better the year after he leaves. Chargers offense gets worse. Then he comes into the Eagles this year and he's going to go revitalize their offense. Well, he hasn't, and I know they've had a lot of injuries, but he really hasn't got that offense firing at all. I think that they're a mess. The thing with the Eagles is they are a very talented mess. So when they have A.J. Brown back, when they have Devontae Smith back, they still can win games because they just have so much talent around it, but they're just so poorly coached. The execution's so poor, and Jalen Hurts just forgot how to take care of a football. It's just, I mean, I'm fine with them being bad because they're kind of a rival for the Saints right now in that we lost to them, so they have a tiebreaker over us in the conference, and that's something that come playoff time, we want to have one more to win than them now if we're in any tiebreaker for seeding, for a playoff spot, for anything. But I think that they just aren't a very good team, and they kind of just have exposed themselves. And Sirianni, Zach Taylor, same coach. I know Zach Taylor got a win, but it was against the Panthers, so does it really count? Maybe it does if you ask the
Mm,
Raiders. But
no, doesn't count.
going on to the Bucks, I mean, it's a shame that we lost Preston because he would be going off about Baker Mayfield right now, top 5 quarterback in his book, and he played like it last game. The offense was really humming, and Baker's making some throws. I mean, he had that one throw where he lasered it over the middle where there's pretty good coverage. They had a guy there who could have picked it off if it was a poorly thrown ball, but he puts the right amount of arc on it, right amount of power, and just lofts it right over his head. Deep completion, big play. Baker's look good, so you got to give props to him. One interesting thing that they did, they used a lot of pre-snap motion, and it worked. I think Baker was like 26, 27 for 33 with a bit over 200 yards when they used pre-snap motion. They clearly identified that the Eagles defense was struggling against that, and they've done a really good job in this offense. I do think one thing of note is Liam Cohen has done such an excellent job as the OC. Before the season, there's a lot of talk about, is Baker Mayfield going to fall apart now that Dave Canales, the quarterback whisperer for what he did, is gone? Because, everyone would call Dave Canales a quarterback whisperer for getting Baker playing well. Well, he's playing well without Canales, so I think shout out to him. I did actually see some Bucs fans that were kind of happy when he went because there's some things they didn't like about this offense. I think they've really done a good job. They moved Godwin to the slot, being able to utilize his skill set effectively. They are just doing a good job spreading the ball, getting everything going, even when they don't have a dominant run game, as we've seen with Rashad White. But they found Bucky Irving, and he's running the ball hard. Bucs, I hate it because they're a division rival, but I think they look like a pretty good team. I mean, I know that they've had some struggles early on, and maybe it is just them beating up on a bad team that was injured this week, but their offense has that ceiling that they show where when Baker Mayfield is playing at his best, they're able to just move the ball easily. I mean, they've got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin as two really good receiving options as your 1 and 2, and they've got a whole host of other guys that they can get the ball to that really helps them out. I mean, Sterling Shepard out of nowhere had 3 receptions for 51 yards. Trey Palmer had a touchdown reception. He can do that for you sometimes. And they spread the ball out. A lot of guys were getting involved. I think that this is a team that definitely, I would say, looks like the best team in the division right now, as much as it sucks to say. And that's just because, like you talked about earlier, Saints are trending down. Bucs are trending up right now. Eagles, they're just dead.
Eagles are just dead. Eagles got shot out of the sky.
But let's
Still found a
move
way to beat
on.
us, though.
I don't know. If you got something else to say about this game, go for it.
Nope. Nothing.
I
Not a
wanted to
damn
move
thing
on to the
to say
best
about the
team
Bucs.
in the NFC East, the Washington Commanders.
Oh boy.
Best team in the division. Who would have seen that coming before the season started? I mean, even as a huge Jaden Daniels fan, I wouldn't have seen that coming. Just because I thought the rest of the team absolutely sucked around him. And I would have thought maybe the Cowboys, maybe the Eagles could have been a decent team, go win that division. Instead, you got the 3-1 Commanders, 3-1 after a 42-14 win against the Cardinals, who, granted, aren't a very good team, but still, dominating win, take the lead in the division. Shout out the Commanders. Shout out Jaden Daniels for having the highest completion percentage ever for the first 4 games of a career in NFL history. And shout out Brian Robinson. He's just been looking great. The Washington run offense actually has the highest success rate in the entire league, leading the league in EPA per rush. I mean, yes, having Jaden there definitely helps out the run game a lot, just freezing the linebackers up for a second of the threat that he could run. But you never would have seen that coming, that with that O-line that they have, that they're dominating running the ball. They've just done a really good job scheming things up. I was really low on Kingsbury as an OC, but he's got them working, and defense even stepped up, and they're able to shut down Kyler. I mean, they kept him in the pocket, and when he's in the pocket, with his diminutive stature, not much he is able to do. Just good game all around for them. So shout out the Commanders.
I feel like the league is better when teams like the Commanders are good. And you see the Commanders and you see the Vikings. And those teams are fun to watch because even though they're good, or the records would say they're good, you still at the back of your mind say, "Oh, what's the Vikings? Oh, what's the Commanders?" And you're not really watching them to fail, but if they do fail, you're not really surprised. And I guess my problem is maybe I just wait too long to start believing in something. But I mean, I need a lot of data to tell me you're good, and which is why I'm confused on my Saints. Take another drink, y'all. I'm confused. So with the Commanders, man, Jaden Daniels, y'all see how LSU's offense is operating now without Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels in that offense for 2 years. This is his first year in this offense. And shout out to Cliff Kingsbury because he really honed this offense into a way that can uh complement his quarterback. He understood who his quarterback was. And I feel like this was his way of kind of learning from Kyler Murray. Because if you think about it, right, Kyler Murray kind of, obviously their bodies are different, right? Jaden Daniels is tall, but two mobile quarterbacks that have great arms and they're accurate. It didn't work out the first time, and it's funny that he actually played against Kyler Murray, right? Um, but he learned, and he's like, okay, um, I know what to do. I know how to handle this. And then on top of that, there's also another sleeper for that team, and that's their running back, Brian Robinson. I mean, he is having such a sneaky good year, and I hate that nobody's really talking about it. I mean, the guy's playing really good football. He's really solid. And I felt like last year they just had too many guys touching the football running back. He was a little inconsistent at times. He didn't find his footing sometimes. But now it's like, yeah, he's it. He's wide receiver one. And then, before they tried the thing with Curtis Samuel, right? Hey, use him like a Debo, right? We're gonna throw him the ball more than Terry McLaurin of all things. And now it's like, okay, now it just feels like the Commanders are balanced, a little more balanced. And Jaden Daniels, it's not like this completion percentage is this high completion percentage is because he's checking it down. No, 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 no. He is still making some damn good throws. He's still taking chances, but he's completing them. And it's just nice to see when one rookie quarterback turns out that he could be the one. Last year was CJ Stroud. This year it's looking like Jaden Daniels. And shout out to LSU. Brian Thomas is having a good year. Malik Neighbors looks like another Odell Beckham for the Giants. So maybe if I'm the Giants, I think I'll just draft an LSU receiver every single year. Um, and then Jane Daniels turned an absolute dumpster fire organization into a glimmer of hope. And I wish that more teams can experience that. And, I don't have any problems with the Commanders whatsoever. None. So shout out to their fans. Y'all been bad for a long time. Y'all deserve this. Y'all deserve to see something. And even if this season falls apart, I think y'all can have some solace in the fact that you got a good one at QB. And the best part about your quarterback being good as a rookie, you have him for another 4 years, cheap, and he's only going to continue to get better. And you can also keep making your team better as well. So, Commanders, maybe they become a contender in 2 to 3 years. Who knows? The NFL changes real quick. So shout out to them. As far as the Cardinals, I mean, there's still a lot of question marks. I mean, I
I
think
think
they'll
that
benefit.
silence is telling. You go as
Yeah,
far as the Cardinals, it's nothing even to say. I mean, they suck. I mean,
yeah. I mean, but you know what? Maserati Marv looks good. Kyler, they
hey,
clearly have
second
some
best
chemistry
receiver in the
going.
class. Third, maybe.
Second best receiver in the class. Yeah, maybe even third. Well, I mean, it's nice to see him. Uh, maybe he has his Larry Fitzgerald. Cool. Um, James Connors, I love James Connors. He looks great. Trey McBride, he looks good. That's why I see. I was a little higher.
What do you mean
That's why that
Trey
star tapped
McBride
me.
didn't play that game? So just ignore Calvin. But
Well, no, I'm saying that to make this next one. I know he didn't play. Trust me, I know he's on my fantasy. I am very well aware he didn't play. Um, I had to start Mark Andrews, who gave me another fucking 0 points. So
who you
yeah,
put up as many
um,
points as him?
yeah, I put up as much points as Mark Andrews, but I guess he blocked a few more buys than I did. But I mentioned Trey McBride because the silence that I had was because I just have more hope for that team. I felt like that could have been a sleeper team. Yes, they still have plenty of holes, but James Conner is a great back. I had Kyler Murray as a dark horse MVP candidate for me this year. Maserati Marv. I love Ohio State receivers. I think he's going to be really good in the league for a long time. And Trey McBride had a really good back end of the season last year to where I think he can still carry that momentum in this year. And he was, and he is. I'm sure he'll continue when he gets back. I just felt like that team should be better offensively. But scoring 14 points, I mean, what can I say? I mean, that speaks for itself. You lose 42-14. Kyler Murray got outplayed. I mean, it's just GG's. I mean, it really looked like he was looking at his better self. Um, we are. When does October start? Tomorrow, or yes, October starts in an hour, which means we don't have much time for Kyler Murray until he falls off a cliff because Black Ops 6 is coming out. So, like I said before in week one, the Cardinals need to steal as many wins as possible before Kyler Murray puts the film tablet down and picks up the goddamn PlayStation controller or the Xbox controller or the PC, whatever the hell he plays on, and he gets to playing on Black Ops 6.
Man, I will say I actually agreed with you about the Cardinals. I thought that they were a team that they could be a good team, or at least like one of those sneaky good teams. Go steal some wins, whatever. Their defense, I mean, everyone knew their defense was going to be bad, but they're just awful. I mean, one of the worst defenses in the league. Their offense has been disappointing too, though. They just haven't clicked because that was the thing. They were supposed to be a team that could stay in these shootouts, could play well. They haven't been able to do that. Going back to Washington, though, I'm going to say something that might sound a little bit crazy, but I completely disagree with you on what you were saying about Kingsbury tailoring the offense perfectly to his quarterback, and I think that's a positive at the same time. Now, the reason that I say this is Kingsbury's offense is historically very horizontal instead of vertical, just having a lot of horizontal routes, just short completions, dinking and dunking a lot, moving the ball like that. And he's implemented a lot of that here. He's had Jaden Daniels throw the ball over the middle a lot, make a lot of these shorter reads, do all that, and there hasn't been a lot of deep shots, which is one of Jaden's biggest strengths. The longest completion he had in this game was 27 yards, and that was the only completion or one of two completions, I think, over 20 yards at all. It's really West Coast. It's really short completions, and that is the complete opposite of what Jaden's game was at LSU, where he would hit a lot of these deep slot fades. He hit a lot of deep shots because he has beautiful touch on his ball. And I know a lot of it at LSU was because he had Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. getting open deep every play. So if you've got receivers who can get open and a quarterback who can get it to them, just go do it. But the reason why I think it's a positive is that Jaden's been asked to do a completely different role. He was always an efficient quarterback, and even with all those shots, he would limit his interceptions and have a good completion percentage. But he's had an incredible completion percentage now. He's been taking care of the football. Besides the one pick he had this game, yes, he took care of the football. Otherwise, 26 for 30. He's done a better job at making these throws over the middle of the field. That was something that everyone said he is going to need to work on. And a lot of that was just because he didn't have to do that in college since he went against middle closed defenses trying to stop him running. So if they're going to close off the middle, go take the shots to the outside that are open. And that's what he did. Here, he's been able to hit those shots to the middle that he's been asked to take. And he did a really great job this week, especially, of replacing blitzers. The rush comes, he sees the extra guy blitzing. He's like, all right, this guy's blitzing. That's the area that he should have been covering. I'm going to look right to there instead of just looking to take off. He did a great job of that in this game. And I really love the progression I'm seeing. And that's why I like the fact that it hasn't been tailored to him yet. If they start doing more of what his strengths are in the offense, opening up these deep shots and really taking advantage of that entire game while you take advantage of his run game, but he's also now able to throw anywhere on the field. He's able to adapt to what the defense is doing that quickly as a rookie. His development's going to be incredible. And I mean, I know he is already a very developed quarterback in a lot of ways, having played 5 years in college as a starter. And that's one thing that, a lot of people would knock all these older quarterback prospects. Well, look at how much of a strength it is where he started for 5 years. He learned all of this stuff. He looks like a polished quarterback already as a rookie. And if they start opening up the offense to more of what he can do too, I think that this team can actually go somewhere. But the thing that was really interesting to me was how well the defense played, because that's the question mark. And I know the Cardinals, maybe they aren't that good of a team, but it was a good performance from the Cardinals where their defense really was able to lock in. I will say the one thing that we do have to keep in mind when we're judging Jaden and the Commanders' offense, three of their 4 games that they have played were against defenses that were ranked 28th or lower in defensive success rate. You know who the one team that was ranked higher than that was? The Giants.
Ooh. Yeah, well, that's.
So they haven't played a good defense yet. What's going to happen when they go up against a team? Let's go look at their schedule coming up.
I'm pretty sure they play us. I think we play the NFC East
They
this
play
year.
the
So
Browns next week, who, I mean, they've sucked, but the week after they travel to the Ravens. That's going to be a big game to see. How are they able to play against the defense that's going to come at them aggressively, that's able to adjust well? How are they going to look against a team like that? Week after they play the Panthers, so that'll be another freebie. Bears, kind of tough defense. Giants should be another easy one. And they play the Steelers, that's another tough one. But I mean, other than that, their schedule is pretty light. They play Eagles after that, not the greatest defense. Cowboys defense sucks. Oh man, Brian Robinson's going to run all over the Cowboys. They play the Titans, they play the Saints, play the Eagles again, play the Falcons, play the Cowboys. If you look at that schedule, I mean, there's some tough games mixed in, but it's with who they've played. I think it's too early to say that they're the favorite, but they've got to be at least up there to be the favorite for that division with how weak it looks. I mean, they look pretty solid, so shout out to them. Shout out to Jaden. And I'm really excited to see how this team progresses. But do you have any other thoughts on this game?
I don't, man. I think you hit the nail on the head, man. I think you really got the Commanders dialed in. Um, I will say I think it's funny because I feel like the NFC East is just one of those divisions that's like it's got to be the weirdest division, right? It's got to be
It's what everyone
because
said the NFC South was going to be.
I see. I want to say it, but I wasn't too confident in saying it. That I feel like the NFC East is what people think the NFC South is. But yeah, I didn't want to say that 'cause I felt like the NFC East had better teams. I felt like the Eagles and Cowboys were better than the Saints and Bucks and Falcons. But apparently not. The Giants are the Giants. Uh, Hell, the Cowboys a better team than anyone in the NFC South, outside maybe the Bucks. I guess we'll see next week. Um, what's the next game, man? What's the next game?
Well, I
Going
actually
on?
wanted to do something a little bit different next, but first I do want to give a shout out to Jared Goff, as I just saw a notification pop up about
Perfect.
him having. I know he
Perfect.
was playing well. He had a perfect game, 18 for 18, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns, no incompletions in that win. Shout out to him. I mean, we didn't really talk about the game much since we are covering other games, but Lions look good. Seahawks, I mean, they put up 29. They're also a team that they were 3-0, but their first 3 wins were against the Broncos, who, I mean, their defense looks really good, so credit to them. Patriots, who suck, and the Dolphins, who were dead at that point because they didn't have Tua. This might be a case of them starting to regress to the mean. Shout out to them, though, because they did steal 3 wins. Now, I wouldn't call being the Patriots stealing a win, and maybe not the Broncos either, but you get those wins early, you bank some momentum. I don't know how good they are in the long run, but they're in a good position still. But Lions, great performance from them.
Also, shout because he had a receiving touchdown as well to go along with his perfect game.
Dude, that was a
Um,
beautiful throw from Amon Ra, too.
hey man, I know Amon Ross said some things about the Saints, but I gotta admit, Amon Ra is in fact my favorite receiver in the league. It's very simple why. I was high on him out of college, and like I was Laporta, so it seems like the Lions just draft all the guys I'm high on, and it works out. So Saints, read my Twitter and keep game. Um, and I drafted Amon Ra, and this is everybody's part of a fantasy league that just means more to them than any other league, and that is a league that I have with some of my high school guys dating all the way back to 2016. It's almost been a decade, and I've been to the championship about 3, 4 times. Never won it. I draft Amon Ra in like the seventh, eighth round. Nobody really knows who he is. I'm like, I know who he is, and he helps me to get my first championship ever in fantasy. And then ever since then, I've won 5 since then. So to me, Amon Ra opened up the door. I guess the sun god really did smile upon me and said, "I will help you out," and gave me a bunch of wins after that. I'm no slouch in fantasy though. Don't get it twisted. I know I said that like I ain't been winning, but hey, I got the best record of all time in that league. So I just put that out there. But
Yeah, well, who's
shout out
in
to
that
Amon
league,
Ra.
though?
Yeah, we got some hitters. We got
That's
two-time champion in there. Two-time champions, I think. Yeah, we got some hitters in there. Got some hitters. It's a 12 man. It's a 12 man
all
league.
right.
So it's a little hard sometimes. Um, but I gotta say I also did get that win too because DeMar Hamlin died on the field. He
Mm.
had Josh Allen playing in the championship and Jamar Chase, and I was only up by like 15. And then DeMar Hamlin died, and I got me the win. So
And now it's all
that was
come
the
full circle. He's the one
circle.
committing the murders.
Now he's the one committing the murder. It ain't affected my team though. So
Rest in peace,
I'm
Tua.
cool. Rest in peace to it.
Yeah, I hope he
But
retires. I know that he won't, but I hope that he does.
he won't. Um, as a player myself, I understand what that decision would mean. I
Oh,
understand
for sure.
wrestling that. I mean, hell, I ruptured my Achilles and I've played 6 seasons worth of college ball. I mean, of course, it came in my head like, all right, I don't need to do
Yeah.
this anymore.
You got Stetson
And
Bennett over here.
you know, yeah, all right. Hey, I'm not, I'm not him. I'm also not Cam McCormick yet. I have another year, so I could go 8 years if I want to. I don't want to be on Sports Center for that, so probably gonna hang it up after this year. But
Hey, as long as you
um,
give us a shout out on SportsCenter, we'll take it.
look at you, the dirty, nasty, shameless plug. Crazy. Absolutely
The
crazy.
game's the game.
Game's a game. But shout out to the Lions. Uniforms look beautiful. You can't lose in them uniforms, man. You can't. They they
You
they
really
look
can't.
they look gorgeous. Um, but I kind of wish Seahawks would wear like all white or something to kind of complement it. Just have a uniform bowl. I think that would have been pretty cool. Don't wear
Imagine
them
those
damn all
uniforms
green
against the
highlighters.
Saints color rush.
I mean, if only we wear the damn color rush like more. Oh, that would be excellent. Color rush, Saints color rushes are the best jerseys in all of football, undoubtedly. So, but
Especially
once again,
if
take a
we can
shot.
wear them with a white helmet, because they changed the rules. You're able to have more helmets now, right?
Yeah.
So if we put in a white helmet with those, that would be beautiful.
Well, can't we just figure out how to wear the fucking black helmets first? Can we do that? Because we don't do it.
Yeah, I don't know
Like
how much I love the black helmets because I think the theory of them's cool, but they have a little bit too much going on.
the stripe's too damn wide. It's too much, and the stripe being made of all fleur de lis,
Yeah.
it's a little tacky. They can simplify that a little bit. Um, I do feel like the Saints have one of those uniforms, kind of like the Raiders. I love the Raiders uniforms too, by the way, where you don't really need to touch them, where they just kind of good where they're at. But it would be nice to have at least let my golds match. Feel like every year they lighten up that damn gold. Just they do it so sneakily. Like every year that gold gets lighter and lighter. We probably in beige territory at this point. Um, and some of the jerseys look like old gold. I don't know if you've noticed that. I think it was the Eagles
Yeah,
game. People
whenever
noticed it.
the guys get sweaty, it's like it changes colors a bit too.
Um, I know I said it was sweat too, but I also was like, yeah, but there's also other guys that are just as sweaty, and theirs ain't
That
doing that.
that is true.
So I don't know what's up with that. I think they said something about the ones that were darker gold, those are like threaded or something like that, and the lighter ones are stitched. I think they said something like that. It was like different stitching, different a different way of putting the numbers on. So I think they were actually slightly different numbers.
Have leave it to
That's
us. We can't even get our uniforms right.
can't even get the damn uniforms in order. God damn it, Dennis. Um, but I do think the Saints need to change it up. Don't ever wear that black jersey with the white pants ever again. Don't do that.
hmm
I don't ever want to see that again.
But hey, all I'm asking for though, give us a white helmet, gold fleur de lis. Wear that with the color rush. That'll be the greatest uniform ever. But look. I mean, we're gonna talk about the Saints all day if we don't shut up. So it is time to move on, and I want to do something a little bit different here. I think we've been talking for a while, and I think to take it out, I want to go through every team in the league, and I want to say who's good and who's not good, and then for the teams that are at the bottom, who's all right and who needs to panic.
I like that. I like that. All
So
right. I mean, we
starting
can
off
go.
at
We
the
can do that.
top, obviously, we've got the
Are
standings
we doing this
pulled.
by divisions? Are we doing this by divisions? Are we doing
Do
this
you want to do
by?
it by division or do you want to do it by conference?
I think we do it by divisions. I think that would be a little bit at least easier for me
All right,
to
well,
kind
we'll
of.
start off in the AFC East with the Bills. You think that and when I say good, I'm talking about, do you think they're like a contender team or do you think that they're just another team mixed into the pack? So, starting off with the Bills, I think are perfect because they're one of the reasons that this segment's a thing. Go into last week, they look like they're probably the best team in the league. I mean, even after the loss last night, they still have a plus 39 point differential, 122 points for. They looked great, but Derrick Henry and the Ravens run all over them. Are the Bills one of the good teams in the league? One of the great teams in the league?
We're doing good or great.
I'd
I'm
say
gonna give them
great.
good.
I'd say for the teams that are at the top like this, are they one of the contender teams?
Yes. We should have put a tier list for this.
We should.
Can we do that? How quick can you do that? How quick can you pull up tierlist.com and get that rolling?
You know what? Let's go pull that up.
Look at that, y'all. Improvise, adapt, and overcome.
So while I'm pulling that up, how do you want to assign the tiers? So obviously at the very top, we got contenders, right?
Contenders. I think you have contenders as the first category, and then you have uh really good, and then I think you have decent. Then you have needs work. Uh Actually, I'm gonna say pretenders. Pretenders is gonna be needs work, and then last is the Carolina Panthers category, um, which is awful. Uh, Worst to the worst. Can't get lower than that.
Uh,
Or should I say the Jaguars? They're the only 0-4 team. The Jaguars
Honestly,
category.
I think the I mean, there's two Panthers teams. If Bryce Young's the quarterback, the Panthers are down there. But now that they got Dalton, at least there's a little bit of juice there. Anyway, let's do this. So we're going to go with contenders at the top, and we'll make them gold because they're good. What do we want to call the next tier? We'll call it. I'll call it the solid
Hall
tier.
of good.
I'm gonna
Hall
say,
of good.
yeah.
Hall of very good.
I'm just gonna call it the solid tier. Like they're solid teams, but I think we can throw that in because they're a solid team, but they're not a contender. So we're early enough in the season that that's gonna encompass a lot of these teams, right?
Yeah. I think middling team, that's the purgatory tier. The
Yeah.
purgatory. They're in a weird place. They're in this just I don't know, very weird place. And then you have the pretenders, which are you need work. You're bad. Maybe your expectations were high and you're not
All
really
right, I did spell that right.
performing. And then you have the Jaguar slash Panther category, uh, which to be fair will probably only be those two. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. I guess we'll see. Begin the list.
All right. So here's the tiers that we got. We've got the contenders, of course. We've got tier below that is solid. Then we've got decidedly mid. Afterwards, we've got time to worry. And then our bottom tier, the ass tier.
AKA the Jaguars tier slash Panthers tier.
Ah, hold on. The hard part is to be adding in all these teams because if we prepared beforehand, you know what we could do?
I mean, you could just type up all the teams in the NFL like tier list, and it'll all be right there. And then we just edit the.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, see, I had to hop in the live so I can actually see the tier list.
Well, I can share my screen with you, I believe.
Hey man, free view, free view. Let it ride out, free view.
Well, you should have been viewing this the whole time, but
All right, bro. Fun fact: I'm also apparently I'm logged into the Days Not Over podcast channel. So Days Not Over is watching the DVG podcast.
rest in peace. Day's not over. Never actually
Hey,
record.
the day's not over. We still have time.
Need to hop on recording at some point, but all right, this
Whenever
will
my
do. Let's just
co-host
go edit our
be past
tiers.
9 o'clock. Yep, set of the tiers.
I'm sorry if anyone's actually watching at this point the live stream. I'm sorry. We're about to be back to the content. This is a segment that we're doing more at the end to kind of wrap everything up, and we'll be posting this individual segment as its own thing. So if you want to just stick around, we appreciate you. If not, you'll be able to catch this as we evaluate who's good and at the bottom who is ass.
You know, as much as I love talking about every single team, bro, we sit here and talk about every single team's game. We will be here until goddamn 3 a.m. So I like this.
Are
I
you
like this.
watching? You can see the screen right now, right?
Uh,
Can
Oh,
you
I
see?
can, but it's like it's a little box that's with the tier list. So all
Ah,
I can see is Goose and OK because it looks like the D not there.
yeah, I'm gonna pull this up. Just wanted to show you that part. Shout out whoever made this tier list and misspelled good. Shout out to them.
Looking at these differentials, do the Saints have the highest point differential in the league still? Is that a thing?
Anyway, I'm just making this and then I'm gonna throw this onto the full screen.
Hmm. In the dead silence, I should make everybody drink again and say something about the Saints.
Yeah, Calvin, why don't you use this dead silence to go promote your day, your day's not over podcast?
Y'all go check out Days Not Over podcast. Right now, the day
Hold up,
might be
so
over.
I'm gonna interrupt you. The reason why I'm laughing is because earlier Aaron was talking about how dead that podcast is. We need to get a recording session going there.
Okay, so for everybody wondering why the podcast is dead, I'm gonna blame Aaron. I'm gonna 100% blame Aaron.
Now,
Um,
hey, blame Preston. He's not even a part
I
of it,
could
but it's
blame
somehow
Preston
his
too.
fault.
I could blame him too. I mean, these two are probably the most unreliable bastards on the planet, and we love them to death. We do. Hell, Days Not Over was Aaron's idea, like the name. Um, and we've recorded one episode, I think, under the new name, and we still have logistical issues. I want a different theme, a different picture to be the whole overarching thing, and he has a different idea too. So if y'all really look at if y'all look at our Twitter has completely different headers and profile pics than the YouTube, and then the YouTube and the Twitter have different logos and headers than the Discord one. So we are all in a goddamn mess right now with this rebrand, trying to figure out what we really want to do. He has another buddy who I don't even know anything about, who's supposed to come on. He's got people lined up. He has some girl that wants to come on, but she doesn't want to talk to anyone but him. I don't know
Yeah,
what the hell is going on with Days Not Over podcast.
she
The
just
day
wants
is
him.
damn
Hey,
over
she
right
just
now.
wants him that personal time, you know.
I'm sure she's white. If y'all gonna get that joke if y'all been tuning in till Days Not Over /AC podcast. But look, y'all, I'm gonna get off my ass a little bit more and I'm gonna start taking control. I'm gonna get Days Not Over back on track. Y'all heard it here. I said it. Um, so just trust in me. Trust in me. I still don't really know how to use OBS and all this other shit, but as long as I can just get Aaron in on the damn recording, we can figure this out. And I got a homeboy who know how to do it too. So we're gonna be straight, y'all. The day's not over. The day is not over. It will never be over. We going Also, Aaron's also trying to focus on his channel right now. I don't even know what the hell the channel name is. Do you know what it is, Dave? I don't know. I didn't even know you had another channel.
He said that he's gonna get some content out before he goes and promotes that, and I mean, fair enough. Actually, have some stuff for us to watch, but anyway, it's been a lot of yapping about a whole lot of nothing. Let's go rank some NFL teams.
Yep.
So, before we do that, I'm just going to move the NFL standings back to another
Am I
tab.
tripping or are we? Okay, I'm not tripping. I thought we were missing teams, but that looks like the old Washington Commanders
Yeah,
logo.
no, that threw me off too. I was looking specifically for the Commanders logo right there, and I didn't see it. But
We're good though. We're good.
we've got we got all 32 teams. Let's get into it. So, before we start, actually, I'm just going to be smart right here, and I'm going to write down a timestamp of when we start this. So, when we cut this into a video, it'll be easy. Shout out to any viewers who are actually watching this for sitting through this absolute shit content that we just put out for you. If you
And this
stuck
is
the,
really against.
if you actually stuck through that, leave a comment when this becomes a live video, and we will shout you out on the next live stream. But anyway,
Also, this is shows that we do not script this shit. This is dead ass, just off the dome.
but anyway, let's get into it. Let's go rank all these NFL teams. So what we're going to do with this list is we're going to tell you what we think, who the actual good teams are, who the top of the league contenders are, who the like solid enough teams are right below them. Then we got the decidedly mid tier. I think it's pretty clear who goes into that. Below that, it's time to start worrying. These are the teams that, maybe you're 1-3, maybe you're 0-4, but you think you still have potential. But I don't think that the Jaguars still have potential, so sorry to them. Maybe you're 2-2 even, but things are starting to look rocky. Those are the teams that you got to start looking at. They're going to be in the tank fest. And at the bottom, you've got ass. You've got the Bryce Young Panthers. You've got maybe the Jaguars. We'll see when we get to them. But the point of this exercise is this has been a weird year for the league. There's been a lot of parity. Feels like anybody's been able to beat anybody. And you've got no team that really looks like they're the dominant team that's pulling away from the pack. Bills looked like they could be it for a minute, but then they lose. Vikings, they're 4-0. They're playing well, but they have had some narrow victories. We don't know. This is a weird year. You don't have the Chiefs being dominant. You don't have any teams that you're like, hey, this team is winning the Super Bowl, or even this team is making the Super Bowl. And I think that's what's made this season fun so far. So anyway, without further ado, let's get through it. Let's say who are the actual good teams in the league. And we're going to start it off in the AFC East with the team that really brought this to life, the Buffalo Bills.
Contender.
You think they're contenders still?
Contender.
Now, why do you think that?
I gotta respect what they've done in the past, and to me, a sign of a good team. I hate to mention the Warriors, I really do, but a team that even throughout change, they can still sustain just about the same success. This is a different team, a lot of different faces on offense, new faces in the coaching staff, and not only does it look like they didn't skip a beat, looks like they've created a new beat, a much better beat. So,
Now,
gotta respect it.
I respect where you're coming from, and I agree with you. I think that they are a contender. There are some definite question marks for this Bills team. They don't have really any receivers that stand out, and I think that was exposed a little bit as we talked about when we recapped that game against the Ravens. They struggled against the pressure the Ravens were bringing, but even when Josh Allen was able to scramble around, have time, you didn't have guys getting open and beating their man that often, and I think a lot of that comes down to they've got, they've got a rookie Keon Coleman, and they've got Khalil Shakir, they've got Curtis Samuel. They really don't have any bona fide wide receiver 1 or 2. And I know that they have so much talent around this team, and they're also, with this Joe Brady offense, trying to run the ball a lot more, and that is a big reason why they've been so successful, is emphasizing the run. Don't make Josh Allen play hero ball. He can make plays when he needs to. Like, I know they lost the game, but that deep bomb that he had to Shakir where he scrambled around, found him open somehow, that's the plays he can make. But don't do what Ken Dorsey did and tell him to make those the whole time, because then you get to the picks. But saying all that, they have some issues they have to work out on offense. Defense, they got banged up, and it kind of showed when they're going up against the Ravens. But I think they still are a contender. Before we move on, I do want to say with this list one caveat. From my perspective, contender is a tier that is going to be I'm going to grade really hardly to get into. So I think that one thing that people overdo is they'll say, oh, everyone's a contender. For me, a contending team is they very likely will win the Super Bowl. They're a team that are 100% up there, and they don't have a lot of holes and a lot of question marks. If you have some question marks but you're a good team, you go into that's a solid team tier. You're a solid team. You definitely can be in the mix, but you have questions. But anyway, I just wanted to clear that up with how the grading scale works for anyone who might question why a team's ranked where they are. But moving on, we've got the New York Jets coming off of that loss to the Broncos.
So before I get my ranking, I guess I'll quickly give y'all my thing because my criteria is a little different, obviously. Um, I will say contender for me. I I I like to respect what you've done in the past, as I mentioned with the Bills. Like they have been a team that's been near the AFC Championship or in the AFC Championship. And I just feel like they've just been a few plays away, and they, just if something happened a little differently, they'll be there. Um, I could very well. I think we both could very well put them in. That's a solid team. Because if you really want to be honest, really the only true contenders are the two teams that played in the Super Bowl last year. Um, but I gotta respect consistent winning. I gotta respect finding ways to win. I gotta respect finding new ways to win. I gotta respect it. And if you look good, you look good. So there you go. Who we on? The Jets?
We're on the Jets. We are
The
going through
Jets.
this by division, by the way. So AFC East at the top. We're just going to go down the division standings. On to the Jets.
See, I wouldn't be surprised if we start adding tiers as we talk about this, because where do I want to put the Jets? I don't know. Somewhere in between time to start worrying and decidedly mid. But I think I'll put them in decidedly mid because the silence is worrying, isn't it? Every time I go silent, every time. Um, I guess if I go silent, we just throw them shit straight into decidedly mid.
but
Aaron Rodgers, he's been decent. I mean, that team just does not move a needle for me at all in any way, shape, or form. It seems like every time we talk about how good their defense is supposed to be, they give up a lot of points. Anytime we talk about how their offense should be good, they don't score. It just seems like that's a very unbalanced team right now. The harmony's messed up. It's just I'll give them mid because I feel like they can still be better. I don't really want to throw them in time to start worrying because they're sitting at 2-2. I don't think you should be worrying at 2-2. Um, but I'll give them mid. I'll give them mid.
I'll say I'm putting them in mid. I mean, with the defense they have, can't really put them much lower than that. They're going to carry games. This was a bit of a weird game, though. The Broncos were the absolute perfect matchup. Like, perfect matchup to counter the Jets' offense. They have a really good D line that is really good at getting after the quarterback, but also has been the best run defense in the league this season, which has been surprising because they have a lot of guys that are explosive pass rusher type guys, and you'd expect them to be successful there. But they've also gotten after the quarterback well. I mean, gotten after the run game well, and they were able to shut down Breece Hall and a very good rush offense. But the other thing, they have Pat Surtain. He can go lock down a number one receiver. He locked down Garrett Wilson. If Garrett Wilson's getting locked down, the run game has to be firing for the Jets because they don't have another receiver outside of him. I mean, you got Allen Lazard as your number two, I guess. But this was the perfect matchup. I think the Jets are one of those teams that they're going to be around the fringe of making the playoffs because they have a good defense. They do have Aaron Rodgers, but they're decidedly mid. I mean, there's not a better tier to put them in. But moving on, we've got the Patriots.
Pass.
Yeah, man. I don't think there's much to say about them. Respect to them getting a win week one. Respect to them for showing some fight in their games. I mean,
And respect for them for not just outright gonna kill Drake May week one. Shout out.
yes.
At least they're waiting for his funeral later on this year. I respect it.
And that might be the one saving grace for his career because if he was starting right now behind this O line, he might retire having to put up with this being like, you know what? let me just go sell insurance. I don't want to play this
He
football
said
stuff
Andrew
anymore,
Luck
having to
had a
play
point.
behind this O-line.
Andrew Luck had a point. That's what he's gonna say. All right. So
But,
yeah,
yeah,
ask
Patriots
no further
suck. We're
notice.
not going to waste time on them. On to the Dolphins. I mean, I think we can just off the bat put them in. We'll say time to start worrying.
Time to start worrying. Your quarterback got some head issues, and not the good head issues, the bad head issues. And Tyreek Hill looks like shit. It's time, and Jalen Waddle, I don't know where the hell he's been, where the hell he's at. Maybe he's in a jail cell somewhere in Miami. I don't know.
He's probably on
Time
that
to start
boat
worrying.
that Odell rented in Miami.
God, I was see we ain't on the same page. I was really finna make a joke about the damn boat. I was gonna make the joke about the boat.
It's crazy how streaming for 2 hours together every week will put you on the same wavelength.
Yeah, same wavelength. Damn it, Preston and Aaron. I'm blaming them.
But I'm blaming Preston because he was actually here earlier and then he had to dip out. But yeah, I mean Dolphins. There's not much to say about them either. They are they are ass right now. The only reason that they're not down there is Tua could come back and the offense could get better. Other than that, they got a lot of holes, but let's not waste too much time on them. Moving to the AFC North, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who came into the week undefeated before losing to Joe Flacco, which, I mean, what a storyline that is. Joe Flacco doing what he did with the Browns and just coming in and balling out. But Pittsburgh Steelers leading that division, where do you put them?
I think at 3-1, I think it'd be a little unfair for me to call them decidedly mid. And considering, I mean, can we call Justin Fields a backup quarterback? It looks like he's gonna win that job.
I think
Um,
it's his job for sure.
yeah, I think it's his job. At least if it's not completely his job, it's his job to lose now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'll give him. That's a solid team. I mean, shout out Mike Tomlin. I mean, the guy is allergic to losing seasons, isn't he? I mean, he's gonna find a way to win, no matter who he has. So once again, I gotta respect the history. I gotta respect the coaching. And sitting at 3-1, leading the division. So shout out.
I mean, as long as Tomlin's there, I don't think you could put them any lower. Their defense, I mean, Flacco kind of cooked them, but overall, their defense is one of the best in the league. And offensively, you really got to love what they're doing, getting the most out of Fields. And, I mean, hey, this might be going back to what we constantly say put a quarterback in a good situation, and they'll probably perform, and at the very least, will look better than they did. It's exactly what's happening with Fields. It's just crazy to say that the Steelers' offense is a good situation, but they've created a good situation for him. They're a solid team. I definitely wouldn't call them a contender unless Fields can take another step, but they're off to a good start. And as we move on, we've got the Ravens. Started off 0-2, started off dead. Fire Harbaugh. Well, here we are now. 2 wins in a row, albeit one being against the Cowboys, but beat the absolute shit out of the Bills. Derrick Henry runs all over them. Looks like a vintage performance, but this is just what he does. Doesn't matter how old he is, he still runs the ball so well. Where do you put the Ravens?
Man, according to the Calvin criteria of respecting the past and just understanding how football works, I said in previous weeks they just had to recalibrate. But I ain't really worried. They had to recalibrate. Figure out how to use this offense with Derrick Henry and just lean into that. You got damn Derrick Henry. You don't the offense don't have to be tricky dick shit. We have Derrick Henry. You can go ahead and play smash mouth football. Now the only thing I will say, man, could you imagine if you had Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and Taysom Hill on the same damn team?
Whew.
I mean, that might be 1,000 yards rushing a
Whenever
game.
Taysom Hill's healthy.
Yeah, whenever Taysom Hill's lung doesn't collapse from being the best player of all time. Um, he's yeah, that might be 1,000 yards rushing game. But I'm putting him in contender because they're trending up. They're trending up. They're gaining some steam. They say hop on the Henry train. Well, god damn it. It's like a steam train, man. A steam train takes a little minute to warm up, but once that motherfucker get going, it's real hard to stop it. So
I'm going to put them in solid team right here. I think that they definitely can move up to contender. the only reason I'm putting them in solid team right now is they are 2-2. They do still have to battle for their division, and we've seen in that division anyone can beat anyone, and it's gonna be tough sledding, tough competition. And I also think the Steelers could match up well and split. They could easily have a split, each win their home game. So, still got some work to do for the Ravens, just since they dug themselves into an 0-2 hole. But they do look like a really great team. And another thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna put them at the front of that's a solid team, because right now I think that they might be the best team in that tier. At the very least, I think they're better than the Steelers. Record, I know records don't say the same, but I think the Ravens, like you said, and we talked about this a lot before, so I'm not going to harp too much on it. I love what they're doing with their offense, because 2 years ago, the whole talk was they're too one-dimensional. They run the ball too much. They need to open it up. They bring in Todd Monken. He tries to open up the offense. It works pretty well. I mean, Lamar has a good passing season. Looks good throwing the ball, but they just really don't have the personnel for that to be great. They have Zay Flowers. They have Mark Andrews. I know he hasn't done anything this year, but let's say they have those two guys. You could throw Likely in there, sure, but they really only have one wide receiver who's a threat. They don't have a passing offense. This year, there were some questions, and I think one of them that we'll see is how it lasts. They lost a lot of talent on the O-line, but they go bring in Derrick Henry, and they say, you know what? We're going to run the ball, and we're going to run it a ton. Because we've got Lamar Jackson, and if we have a good running back to pair with him, well, what do? Because if you sell out to stop Henry, Lamar just keeps it. If you sell out to stop Lamar, Henry will run all over you. So I think it's just really a great job of designing the offense, and especially with all these defenses are designed to stop the pass. So if we can run it on you, we will. I think it'll be interesting to see as the season progresses. Does that continue? Do they have that success? But they are definitely at the top of that's a solid team. I said I wasn't going to talk a lot about them, and then I go off into that whole soliloquy. So let's move on to the Cleveland Browns. 1-3. Technically, they are tied for third in their division, but where do you want to rank them?
I think because nasty man Diddy Watson is the quarterback, I'll have to throw him at ass. And that's very unironic that I'm throwing Deshaun Watson into ass. But here we are. I'm doing it. It hurts my heart to do it. I just don't understand that team right now. And if I don't understand your team right now, I'm gonna put you in ass. I can't say time to start worrying because
Yeah, I'm
Browns.
making an amendment right now because I put it at time to start worrying at first because we're only through 4 weeks. There's a lot of time in the season. I think that I think we need to say time to panic. I think that's a better tier for that because time to start worrying is kind of close to decidedly mid. Time to panic, that's a team like the Browns right now. I think they're a step above ass because they at least have a decent defense, although it's struggled a bit. They have potential to maybe get better at quarterback if Jameis Winston can go off, but they're $500 million man. I know he's not that much, but he's close. Is playing like absolute ass. Deshaun Watson, he's ass. The Browns, it's time to panic.
See, I'm just being a little unfair. I think I did ass. I did ass for the jokes. I did it for the memes. I did. I'm be
You
honest with
did, but
y'all.
I think
I did it for
also
the memes.
when it's
But
time to
yeah,
start
time to panic
worrying,
is right.
yeah, no, this is the time to panic tier. Because if you're the Dolphins, you're panicking. If you're the Browns, you're panicking. You're not just starting to worry. The panic set in.
But see, that's just so odd. Because like, what are you panicking for? I mean, what did you expect? You know.
Well,
Um.
for the Browns, you
Well, you know
expected them
what?
to be a playoff team.
You know what? I say that Nick Chubb, his practice window got opened up today. So hey,
No,
maybe,
no,
maybe,
no.
maybe,
Listen,
maybe.
listen. I don't know if you have him on a fantasy team. If you do,
Well, I do, which is why I'm doing this. Which is why I'm
that's
going.
that. That's
I
what
know
I
he
was
ain't gonna
thinking.
change anything. I
That
know he ain't.
no,
But one can
th-
hope.
this is what. That's not what I'm getting at. What I was getting at is if you have him on your fantasy team, slow your roll. Whenever he comes back, first of all, they open this window. He might not come back until the very end of that window, as you see teams lots of times will do. They
Stinks.
will open their window, realize the guy's not ready, and then bring him back at the end when they have to. Maybe he comes back sooner, but when he comes back, for anyone out here who has him on your roster, do
Don't
not start
start
him
him.
immediately, and don't start him the next week either, because they are. He had a very major knee injury where it was multiple ligaments, which what that means is when you have multiple ligament tears, you have to wait for one ligament to heal to be able to go and fix the other, because you go fix, like, not fully heal, but you go fix, say you tear your PCL and your ACL. Say you go fix your PCL, you do that, you gotta let the swelling subside before you can go in and fix the ACL. So it's a step-by-step process to go fix all these ligaments, which means the recovery time is going to be pushed back until the last surgery is completed instead of when the first one is. The other thing is, there's been all these videos you see, oh, Nick Chubb's running, Nick Chubb's doing all this. It's not that hard to run after getting your ACL fixed. The thing that takes time is being able to make cuts and do all these dynamic moves. As a running back, that is very important to be able to do. So basically, the point of all I'm saying is, you may see all these videos hyping him up and think, oh, Nick Chubb's going to be back. When he comes back, they're going to ease in his workload, because especially if they're sucking this season, he's already getting older. They don't want to completely break him by making him be their workhorse right away. He's going to be eased back in, and you really want to evaluate how good does he actually look on the football field. Is he comfortable on that knee? Is he able to make all these cuts and do all this before you go throw him in? So just a little fantasy advice for everyone out here with a little bit of medical perspective. But anyway, Browns, time to panic. Your season's probably cooked. Bengals, Cincinnati
Um,
Bengals.
Time to
That is
panic.
a fun one right there.
Time to panic.
Time
You know what?
to panic.
I will say time to panic, but you got to win. But you're still panicking because you're sitting at 1-3 when you were supposed to be competing with the Ravens for top of the division. And lo and behold, both of y'all ain't even at the top of the division. So time to panic.
Shout
100%.
out the
Time to panic.
Steelers.
Top Steelers. Time to panic because you have a running back by committee. I'm a point this out right now. I don't like running back by committees. I don't like it because I feel like you have commitment issues, and I feel like when you have commitment issues, you don't trust your running backs. And I feel like you should trust
See,
either Chase Brown or you should trust either Zach Moss. Now, because Zach Moss on my fantasy team, I'm going to tell you trust Zach Moss.
and because I have Chase
But
Brown on my fantasy team, I'm going to tell you trust the more
you're
efficient
going to tell you
back
trust.
who has
And you
looked
know
like
what?
he has
Chase
more
Brown
burst
had
and looks better.
23 this week. He had 23 this week, and Zach Moss had 17. So it looks like we both are winning. So
Except I
hey,
didn't start him because Chase Brown hasn't done shit all season. So,
exactly. You know who has done shit all season?
well,
Zach Moss, which is exactly why you should trust Zach Moss,
if you look at
who's been
efficiency,
giving me
though,
18 a
Chase
game.
Brown does look like the more explosive back. But with running backs by committee, I love running backs by committee if you have two good running backs that you trust. And
David
tip
Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs.
that
That's
is
the
exactly
perfect
what I was going to
running
get
back
at.
by
I was going to say you either have David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs, where you just slot either one in and you say, hey, I don't care if it's goal line, if it's passing, I trust both of them to do both. That's what the Lions do. Or if it's you have two very different running backs and you're going to utilize them in unique ways, like Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, where you had the boom and zoom. You go Kamara, you can utilize them in the pass game. You utilize them in outside runs. You get them into space. Mark Ingram, just go run it up the middle. Go get us whatever yards we need. If we need 4 yards for a first down, he'll go get those 4 yards. If we need 3, he'll get those 3. And that's how you have to have a committee. When you have a committee, just because you don't trust either back, since neither of them really show enough, like the Dallas Cowboys are a perfect example. They're running back by committee because all their running backs are mid. That's when it gets bad. But for the Bengals, I mean, statistically, they would be the first team to ever win the Super Bowl starting the season 0-3. So their season's probably dead already if you look at it that way. But Zach Taylor, I mean, if you've watched any of our content about the Bengals, you know my thoughts on him. I think he is a terrible coach. I think he lucked into a Super Bowl run. Good on him getting him there. Good on him getting them there. I'll give him his flowers for that. But before that, Bengals fans all wanted him gone. After that, he hasn't done anything since. You know who that sounds a whole lot like? Nick Sirianni, Doug Peterson. And look at how they're doing. Look at how the Bengals are doing. I see a similar trajectory for all three of those teams. It's definitely time to panic. You got your win, albeit against the Panthers, but you can't keep digging yourself into a hole like this every season and then expect success, because then you need perfection every other week. You're behind pace in your division. You're 2 games back in your division already. You're going to be fighting for the wild card. That's a unless you make a deep playoff run, that's a bad season already. But I digress. I just
Also, you have question marks on payment. Money. Uh, T. Higgins. What do you do with that? You got Jamar Chase. He wants his money. So your top 2 receivers want their money. You've already let Tyler Boyd walk, who I think was a pretty good wide receiver 3 to complement these guys.
and you've already paid Joe
Um,
Burrow, so that's a lot of your cap already being taken up,
you paid Joe Burrow, and you've invested a little bit in the O line. So you paid some of those guys,
and it still sucks.
and it still sucks. And then on top of that, every single year you keep losing another piece of your defense. So at what point is this just going to fall apart? And on top of that, you lost Joe Mixon. And like I said, running back by committee, and it ain't a good running back by committee. It's a committee because you don't trust. So time to panic because
Time
now you have questions, more questions than you have answers.
time to panic and time for us to move on, because we're supposed to get through all of these teams, and we're turning this into just the second half of our recap stream where we go in depth into every team. So let's keep it moving a little bit. Houston Texans, I think it's pretty easy where they rank. They're a solid
Solid team.
team.
Yep.
That
Explanation? Don't think we need one.
if
Solid
you
team.
if you want to if you want to look at them, they're a team that they could be a contender. They've got a lot to like, but they still have some question marks. They're still a young team. Solid team. Excited to see how they progress. Moving on, Indianapolis Colts. Where do you rank them?
Man, I can't give them time to panic. Maybe you could give them time to panic because Anthony Richardson is hurt again. Maybe you panic because of that. But you got the city slicker himself, the savior of franchises, apparently, Joe Flacco. So maybe you don't panic. So I'm gonna give him mid because you gotta win. Give him mid.
I think the one thing keeping them out of time to panic is they have Joe Flacco. So even if Richardson misses some time, Flacco's shown that he just doesn't. He's a cockroach. He just doesn't die. He'll just come into whatever team he's on. When their quarterback gets hurt, he just performs well enough. That being said, it's not like they're a great team. I mean, Flacco, shout out to him, but they're decidedly mid. Tennessee Titans.
Well, before I say something, times I gotta mention this too, real quick. So Joe Flacco, shout out to him, and this is gonna be news, right? Big news for me. So there's a company called Cadex Cleats, and these are the cleats that Joe Flacco wears. Joe Flacco wears these cleats, and it's also the same cleats that I wear because these cleats have smart studs, which are the spikes at the bottom, the little studs at the bottom. They move when you take a step, when you cut, when you plant. These studs move and adjust so you don't get caught in grass or turf, and it'll basically lowers your chance of ACL or any other knee ligament issues. Same with ankle and same with Achilles. And for those who don't know, I ruptured my Achilles last year before the season started. So I reached out to them when they were seems like just starting out. I saw them earlier this year, I think in like January. Got a pair of cleats. They sent me a pair. I felt like, luckily I got me a pair before they were all out because they were still prototyping. They were still, still really early on. It was pre-orders at the time. And then now there's a couple NFL players getting on to it. Joe Flacco, I think today went on the Pat McAfee show and shouted out these cleats because they asked him about the cleats. And here's big thing that I wanted to mention. So tomorrow, Cataclysm is actually coming to watch me practice to do a feature on me with my story. So I just wanted to put that in, because I just think it's interesting that I'm kind of part of something that is new, and I trust these cleats, obviously with my Achilles, and I believe in the science. I back them fully, and I want to see these cleats be the future. And it's just cool to see Joe Flacco with that same mindset, and a guy who's in year 17 of his career. He's putting his lower body in the trust and hands of these cleats. Um, and it's really cool that this company, I've shown support to them, and it seems like they're showing it to me too. And I just think that's really cool. So I'm giving Cadix Cleats a big, big, big shout out. And if you are an athlete that has had knee problems, ankle problems, anything, go get you a pair of Cadix Cleats. I feel like you have to. This is going to be the future. Teams are going to be. I feel like at some point teams are going to be mandating these cleats. I think that's just where we're at. So yep, I just had to put that out.
Not sponsored, by the way, although they should
Not
sponsor
sponsored.
us, please. No, Calvin, might need to get on that. We can have a sponsored segment highlighting their cleats, whatever they want. But
Maybe I'll talk about it. Maybe I'll talk with them tomorrow when I see them. But
shout out to
I just had
Calvin. Y'all definitely need to check out the story that they have with him whenever that releases. But it is a huge shout out to these cleats. We're not going to spend too much time on this because you kind of said your piece, Mike. You really covered it all. But I just wanted to say this is really important. Like all these things that they're coming up with to prevent injuries, whether it be the helmets, whether it be the cleats, anything you can do to keep players on the field is so huge and such an important development. So it's always interesting to see as this stuff progresses because it just impacts the game for the better. If you can have less injuries, more better players on the field, you get just better football. It's good for the teams, good for the fans, and of course, good for the players. Now, moving on to something not so good, the Tennessee Titans.
Tennessee Titans. Ass, ass. I felt like I felt like they were bad last year. I felt like last year was the panic where it's like, okay, we have quarterback issues. We kind of have a quarterback by committee, not really, but kind of do still. You get rid of Malik Willis, you go full into the Will Levis train, the full mustard man train, mayonnaise man, the full mayonnaise man train, and all he's been doing is giving you a new funny meme every week while shitting the bed. So I'm gonna give him ass, man. I mean, I don't see really anything redeeming with that team whatsoever. The only reason why they ain't damn dead last is because the Jaguars are trying to find a way to just outsuck them, and they're doing it. So I'll give him ass, man.
You know, I was thinking about which tier to put them in. They're ass. I mean, there's nothing redeeming. You're right. They've got Will Levis is not a good quarterback. It's not a good offense, and their defense isn't. Their defense has improved from last year. I'll give them that, but they suck. Shout out the AFC South though, because everyone said the NFC South they're going to be the worst division in the league. Well, look at the AFC South. You got the decidedly mid Colts, the ass Titans. You got the Texans, who they're good, but then you got our next team, our next ass tier, the Jaguars. I mean, is there really anything that you want to say about them?
Um, Trevor Lawrence overrated. Doug Peterson fired. Um,
Indeed.com.
yeah, everyone.
Doug Peterson
They had
overrated, by the way.
Yes, he's also overrated. You had one of the guys in the front office steal like $2 million, so y'all are cooked either way. You need to put them in the front. They're the most ass as
Well, yeah,
the
so that's what I'm doing.
only
So
team
the,
to
the
not win.
teams that are in the front of each tier, they're the best team in that tier. And
So
I'd
okay,
argue the
yeah,
Patriots
see,
are better than the
I was thinking
Titans.
that they're the most so then we put them in the front. I don't know, but I see where you're going. Um,
Yeah, that's more for consistency for like the Ravens. I think I put the Ravens over the Texans here. I think for now, but they're close. But Bengals best team out of the panicking by virtue of Dolphins not having Tua back yet. But yeah, I mean, Jaguars suck. Let's move on
I
to
mean, we
the.
might have to make another tier. Is there a tier below assets? Do they get their own tier? They get the Jaguars tier. Do they get the Panthers and Jaguars tier? I don't know, but we can move on. They're ass. Nothing to say about them. Sorry, Jags fans.
But anyway, moving on to a better team. We've got the Chiefs in the AFC West. What are you gonna rank them?
I mean, they're undefeated. They won Super Bowl last year, contending. That's it. That's all I need to say.
I've got a hot take right here.
Oh boy.
I don't think that they look like a contender right now. I'm
Hey
gonna.
man, like I said, I'm respecting who they are. I'm respecting what they shown.
I
You're
was gonna say
undefeated and you won the Super Bowl. You have to put them in contending.
I'm putting them in contender. The reason I'm doing that though is just because of their defense right now. Their defense looks like it might be the best defense in the league. All their games have been close. They're winning these one-score games. They're almost losing a lot of games, but they're winning. And at the beginning of the season, if you win ugly, a win's a win. You'd rather win ugly early on than have pretty losses where you play beautiful ball. You could get those ugly wins and smooth out the kinks as the season goes on. My concern with the Chiefs is I don't know how much upside there is for their offense. If Rashee Rice is going to be done for the year, all of a sudden you're starting to get pretty thin at weapons. Who's your wide receiver one there? Is it Xavier Worthy? Because he's not a wide receiver one. He might be their most talented receiver that they have healthy, but his profile is not a wide receiver one. Travis Kelce, he's going to get a lot more targets now that Rice is out because Rice was taking all those targets that he would take over the middle of the field. But who are you throwing the ball to? Is it Juju? Is it Sky Moore? Is it someone that you trade for? There's definitely question marks, and they'll get Pacheco back so the run game will get better. But right now, they're not, I wouldn't say right now that they're a contender, but they're 4-0, so they're in a good position, and they're going to, as long as they don't have more major injuries, they're going to get better when Pacheco gets back. With that defense, they're a contender, but for me, they're on the cusp of these two tiers.
I can see it.
I respect them, but this is definitely the weakest the Chiefs have looked in a while. But moving on,
I can agree.
we've got a group of 2-2 teams for the rest of the division. Let's just knock them out rapid fire because I think that they're all kind of similar. First off, the Chargers.
Mid.
Second off, the Raiders.
I'm gonna go mid. You don't have to
Mhm.
panic about anything yet, other than your quarterback situation. But I think we all knew that going in.
And third
So
off, the Broncos.
I'm gonna give him a hot take. I'm gonna say you're 2-2, but low key time to panic. I don't know. I'm fine putting him in mid. I'm fine putting him in time
I'm
to panic. I
putting
just
them
say time
mid.
to panic low key because your quarterback still stinks, and maybe it's just me shitting on Sean Payne a little bit. But I'm fine with mid. So let's go mid.
I think that they are as decidedly mid as possible because their offense is terrible, but their defense looks actually good. The past 2 weeks has been locked in. They've been improving, so they're decidedly mid. Like they are that tier to a T. But let's move on. We're going to the NFC. The NFC East, maybe the most mid division in the league. I think the AFC South, I mean, I don't even know if I could say the AFC South is worse because the rest of the teams might be worse, but the Texans still hold the water for that division. But anyway, let's start with the best team in that division. Who would have thought the Washington Commanders?
Man, see, I feel like the NFC is skewing the results a little bit, man. I really do. Like, how can I evaluate a lot of these Sam teams in the
That's why we're
NFC?
doing this.
So I mean, I guess just off the strength of the record, but they haven't really beaten anybody with a defense. But I can't call them mid because you're winning
I think
games.
what I'm gonna I put I think I completely get where you're coming from, and I'm on the same wavelength. They're a solid team, but they're towards the bottom of that tier. They've got
Yeah.
potential to get better. They've got a really good rookie quarterback who has been playing out of his mind. I wouldn't say out of his mind, but he's been playing for a rookie, like not making mistakes. He has the highest completion percentage ever for a rookie through his first 4 games. He's taking care of the ball, checking all those boxes that you want. And I think there's still potential for that offense to improve as they open it up, take more deep shots, do more of what Jaden's good at. I think that they're a solid team, and it's crazy to think about, and they might fall off once they start playing better competition. But when we were doing the recap of all the games, we looked at their schedule. They have a pretty easy schedule. They've got a few tough games, like going to the Ravens, like I think they're playing at the Steelers. I know they play against them. It might be at home, but they play at the Saints. They play like at the Eagles. Maybe you call that a tough game, but I don't think the Eagles are very good. But other than that, they've got a lot of very winnable games. The division's definitely very much within reach for them.
I would say a more accurate way to describe a team like this with this tier is to me is you're not mid, you're not contending. Obviously, you're a solid team, but you're you're on a seesaw. You're at the
Mm-hmm.
tip of it. You're in a balance. It can either go bad for you or it can go good for you. You're at that point to where depending on your coaching, depending on whatever, you can either have a good rest year or a bad one. So that's where I have the Washington Commanders at. Um, there's another team I have in that I think we all probably know. Shout out to the drinking game, but we're gonna get to them later. So what we got next?
Well, we got a fun one next. The Philadelphia Eagles. I want to hear your thoughts first.
God damn it! See, it's kind of like what I just said. I mean, you have one of the more talented NFC rosters. You do, but you've underperformed. And I mentioned when we were making the tier list before, I mentioned that we're underperforming and that there should be a tier for teams like that who have good rosters but are underperforming. But we kind of threw the Bengals in that time to panic. They kind of have a good roster. They have good pieces, and they're not performing. And you said, hey, Nick Sirianni is Zach Taylor, and Zach Taylor is Nick Sirianni. So I'm actually going to say, because of those criteria, what does that sound the most like? Time to
Time
panic.
to panic. That is exactly where I'm at with this team. You could definitely argue that they should be in the mid tier based off of their talent, but I have said this all season. I think the Eagles are not a good team. They're one of the most talented teams in the league, and yet they just can't put it together. We went over all of this already, so I'm not going to harp on it too much, but they got a coach that I think is on that Zach Taylor career arc where makes it to a Super Bowl but doesn't do anything after. It's kind of like a former Eagles coach. The only difference was that he won it in Doug Peterson, and look where he's at now with the Jaguars. They've got a quarterback that turns the ball over like crazy, and their offensive coordinator, I think, is overrated. The Cowboys looked better after he left. The Chargers actually struggled while he was there. Now the Eagles are struggling. Yes, you can say that they're missing their top 2 weapons right now, but they're a team that I think has plateaued, and it might be time to make some changes. I think Sirianni, yes, he creates some good vibes there, but he doesn't really do much as a coach, I don't think, for this team. When they lost their coordinators, Steichen and Gannon, to the Colts and Cardinals. It really hurt this team, and they haven't really recovered. I think it is time to panic. Another team. Now this is a tough one for me. The Dallas Cowboys, 2-2. Is it time to panic, or are they just ass? I'll be
Well,
nice.
well,
I'll
you
be nice
see,
to them, and I'll say that it's time to panic because I don't think that they're a good team. I think they have the talent that they're not the Patriots, Titans, or Jaguars. Their run defense is down there, but they're another dead team. They're probably even deader than the Eagles, where I mean, that coaching staff is going after this season, and they're already kind of locked in to their money because they paid CD, they paid Dak. They're probably going to pay Parsons. I mean, maybe they don't if the wheels fall off, but they're locking in their money, and they're below decidedly mid at this point because there's not much upside. It's time to panic.
Well, you know, it's kind of like a dichotomous key for me right now. At this point, we've laid out a solid groundwork of teams and why they're in the tiers they are, and it's like how I got from because I was going to put the Eagles in mid, but as I talked about it more, it just starts sounding more and more and more like what we talked about why the Bengals are there. So if I just keep talking, I'm going to end up talking myself into Cowboys. It's time to panic because, like you said, I got your money tied up. You have I'm gonna say you have probably one of the worst GMs in the league right now. He is way too egotistical, way too prideful, and it's time for him to go. But he will never go because he's your owner, unfortunately. Um, and he's not helping that team. He's a detriment to the team, and the team at this point is winning despite of Jerry Jones' best efforts. Am I going to say they're in a worse position than the Bengals? No, I don't. Um, but I mean, I think you can fix the team. I think you can. You know what you need to do. It's just it's just will Jerry do it? And
Nope.
I think really your biggest issue is Jerry. That is your biggest problem with the
Jerry
Cowboys.
and the
Is Jerry
quarterback
Jones.
market. Because the quarterback
Jerry and the
market
quarterback.
made them pay Dak Prescott that much money to keep him. Because if they wanted to keep Dak Prescott, they had to give him that much money. He's not worth that much money. Most quarterbacks are not worth that much money. I would say that much money is worth for a top three quarterback. He's not a top three
Well,
quarterback. He's a good quarterback, but he's not top three. He's overpaid. And that's what you see with all these teams. They pay their quarterbacks this much, and then, especially if they pay a receiver that much, they get worse because they have to make sacrifices elsewhere. It's just rough. We've talked about this a ton. QB market is an absolute mess. Let's move on to the Giants, though. I'm not going to put them ass actually, because even though Daniel Jones might be, they have a little bit to look forward to, courtesy of Malik Neighbors just being that guy. It's certainly time to panic for that team, and they're certainly down towards the bottom of it. But shout out Malik getting them a tier up in my book. But do you agree with that, or should we bump them down?
you know, I might have to bump him down because I don't see hope with this team outside of Malik. I don't. Uh, I mean, what do you have to look forward to? You're paying Daniel Jones, and it's once again the QB market. And it's like,
Yeah.
with the Cowboys, imagine if Jerry Jones would have just paid Dak Prescott a year ago or a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. He probably could have saved himself probably almost 50, 60, 70, maybe even 100 million, probably about $70 million. Could have, but lesson learned, I guess. Um, I don't, I don't see a way.
Yeah,
I
I think you're
just, I
right. I
don't see a
think
way for the Giants.
we
I
don't need to
don't.
spend too much time on the Giants. They do belong in the ass. The one thing that I was gonna say that gave me not hope for them, but put me maybe above those other teams is they looked like they're pretty much on the same level as the Cowboys. So maybe that's a testament to the Cowboys just being ass. But yeah, let's move on because we don't need to talk about them. The Vikings, though, this is an interesting team to talk about. I will
Uh,
say, I know
Damn
you
it!
have been a
I
lot lower
don't.
on them before this week. You didn't really think that they were anything special. I was pretty high on the Vikings because I really liked what O'Connell's doing with that offense, and I really, really like what Beeflo's doing with that defense. Where do you rank them, though?
Well, hey, I'm a man of my word. I already said, hey, if you're undefeated, I know I said respect the past, respect what you've done recently. They wasn't on nothing last year, but their offense was pretty scary in my opinion last year. And if some injuries didn't happen, then I think they would have gotten farther than they did. Um, I'm fine with putting them in contender. Maybe too early. So at the very least, I'm okay with putting them maybe in between Baltimore, maybe in front of Baltimore. That's a solid team. I I'm conflicted, so I'm going to reserve the final vote to you.
I was conflicted too, but thinking about it, I think if the Chiefs are in there at contender, I think that they are right below the Chiefs there as a contender.
They're
They're,
undefeated. I gotta respect the
you got to
undefeated record.
respect the undefeated.
Gotta respect it.
And you got to respect the undefeated, and you also got to respect the way that they beat the Texans, who they're a solid team. You've got a lot to like with that team. They just completely dominated that game. I mean, I know it just was one of those days for the Texans, but that shows how the defensive game for the Vikings works. They were able to get pressure by blitzing, obviously, but also by showing blitz and getting the Texans to overslide, to overcompensate, and then leaving one-on-one matchups that their defensive ends could win. They're just a really good team. They mix up their looks on defense. They just make it difficult for an offense because they got to think for that extra second. Offensively, Kevin O'Connell's done a great job implementing his scheme. Darnold's first 8 completions were to 8 different receivers this past game. It just shows what can be done there. So shout out to them. Moving on to the next team, though, we've got the Green Bay Packers. Where do you rank them?
I'm gonna say, even though they're 2-2, I'm okay with giving them solid team because I feel like mid is a little harsh. You won games with Malik Willis. I think that in itself deserves a little bit more praise than mid. Um, and you lost to a team who we put in contender, and you only lost by like a touchdown. You came back and fought hard. Jordan Love looks okay. I'm okay with putting them in solid team. I feel like it's a little unfair to put them in mid, and also considering that they were a playoff team last year who just kind of came out of nowhere, and also they're still a very young team. I believe. Well, are they still the youngest team now, or is it now the Texans? I think it's still them. So
Yeah,
young team. I'm fine. Put them solid.
I agree exactly what you're saying there. I think they're definitely a solid team. They have a lot of room for improvement too, as Love is healthy. My question for you is, where do you rank them on that solid team list? Who do you put them right in between?
Well, I think I'll put them in between the Texans and Steelers because I trust Jordan Love more than I trust Justin Fields right now.
That's fair. And I
And
mean, we've seen that in action in that division. Do have to apologize. We skipped over the Lions. Where do you rank them?
man, I really want to do it because I love seeing the Lions win, and I do like the team. I'm gonna throw the contender at them. I mean, hey, you know what? I'm okay with doing it. I'm okay with them being solid too, but I'm okay with throwing them in contender, man. I really am. I love Jameson Williams coming out a little bit more. Amon Ra is top 5 receiver in the league. Sam Laporta, he's gonna kick it up. Jared Goff just threw a perfect game on Monday Night Football.
Thing of
Um,
beauty.
and the thing of beauty. And even though I
And
don't
caught
like
a
Jared Goff,
pass for a touchdown.
and caught a pass for a touchdown. Even though I don't like
Perfect
Jared
throw
Goff,
by
the
Amon Ra.
things he said after the no call, but I gotta let that go at some point. And you have a great offensive line that can bruise people up. Your defense has improved a little bit from last year. Still not the best, but it gets the job done. And you have the best running back duo in the league. I mean, these two are knuckles inside. They are maybe the new Boom and Zoom. It hurts my heart to say that, but I think I'm okay with giving them that title. Yeah, you got to give them contender, man. They,
Well,
they they got pieces that can work.
I'm going to keep this one quick. I agree with everything that you said. I think that they are a very, very solid team. I'm also going to stick to my grading scale that I said. They do have some questions after that loss that they had to the Bucks. I think they are the top of the solid team tier and probably will creep into that contender tier. but they're also second in their division right now. So I think there are a couple of little questions, and just the fact that they're a team, they weren't expected to make it to the championship last year. They make it all the way to the NFC Championship. Now they've got to do the hard part, doing that as a team with expectations. I think that they are a team that's fully capable of doing that. I just want to see them go dominate like they did tonight and continue that, and they will easily be a contender for me, but I'm just sticking to my grading scale. Moving on, we got the Bears. I mean,
Time to
bottom
panic.
of decidedly mid.
Time to panic. Time
Time
to
to
panic.
panic.
Time to panic. Time to panic because you put way too many expectations on Caleb Williams, and I do respect trying to go and get players. You got Keenan Allen. Y'all obviously made the move for DJ Moore earlier with Justin Fields. You ain't gonna get DeAndre Swift, and it's funny that we talk bad about DeAndre Swift, and then all of a sudden he just decides I'm gonna be good at running the ball again. I
To
just
be
found
fair,
that
it was against probably the second worst rush defense in the league behind the Cowboys.
it was, but then again, you did what you had to do. So I just thought that was funny. Roma Dunze and uh Caleb not really clicking right now. The offense is all out of whack. They still need to figure things out. You're panicking because you thought you would be a little better than this. I think they had a little more expectations.
And you're panicking
It's that bad.
because did you take the wrong quarterback?
And are you panicking because your O-line still sucks ass?
Oh, their O line is terrible. And that's one of the big reasons that he sucks. The other reason is they hired an offensive coordinator that got let go by his team last year in Shane Waldron, who has not been good this season, wasn't good last season. I don't know why they brought him in and thought it was a good marriage with the rookie quarterback, but interesting decision by them. I mean, yeah, the only caveat I say with putting them in time to panic is a little bit strong when you have a rookie quarterback, but they were a team with expectations. They thought that they could be pushing for the playoffs. They're not even close to that. They look shit. Let's move on to the NFC South. Unfortunately, at the top of the division, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What do you think
Uh,
about them?
I don't want to say it. Solid team. You know what? Baker is worth every penny they're paying him.
Top 5 quarterback, right? Shout
Yep.
out Preston.
Shout out Preston.
For
They
those of
are
you that
stealing
don't
wins.
know, Preston is a firm believer, and he said this before week 1 that Baker Mayfield is a top 5 quarterback.
Hey man, I respect it. I respect the opinion. I respect what he's doing. I mean, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin just won't goddamn die. They won't. They just won't go away. And Baker, one of the most resilient guys in the league. Give it up to him. Give him his flowers. I know I was one making fun of that team after I saw that footage of the Bucks mini camp, and they had Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield, and they both were missing every single pass. And I just thought this is going to be terrible. And then Derek Carr decided, no man, I'm gonna show you terrible. And he did. So
Yeah, I mean,
solid team
solid team. I agree with you, so I'm going to ask you, where do you rank them on there?
because I'm a hater. I'm putting them last. So I don't think I need to say that any further as a Saints fan.
Well,
I'm not gonna be
I'm a
fair. I'm
Saints
not
fan
gonna
as
be
well.
fair. I'm
I
not gonna
will
be
be
fair to
fair.
them. I'm not. I'm not.
Rank them ahead
I'm
of
okay with taking the
Washington.
L and not being fair. You be
Rank
fair.
them
I'm not.
ahead of the Steelers.
No.
I
I can't do it. I can't do it. I know I
I'm
know
gonna
to do
hot
it,
take.
but I can't.
Maybe it's a hot take. I will rank them ahead of the Packers and put them right in between the Packers and the Texans. I think I hate that this is that I think this is true, but I think that they are a very solid team. They have a good defense. They have a good quarterback on a relatively cheap contract, and they have good weapons around him in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And they're doing a great job of utilizing them, moving Godwin to the slot. They're a solid team. I hate it. But moving on, let's hear your thoughts on the Saints.
Oh well, they're contenders. I mean, we don't need to talk about that further. They're obviously contenders, best team in the league. Um, no, see, here's the thing. I don't want to call my team mid. I don't. I don't believe it. I don't believe we're mid. We've had mid tendencies, but what team doesn't have mid tendencies? I think you are 2 plays away from being 4-0. And that's not me being biased, maybe a little bit, but not really. Because that's just the truth of the matter. Your defense is elite. You've given up 47 points in 4 weeks. You've only given up 4 touchdowns on defense in 4 games. 1 touchdown a game, basically. You're giving up 7 points. That's basically what you're saying. You're giving up only 7 points a game. 1 touchdown. And you lose because of a bad decision by a punt returner. You lose because of a bad decision by your offense coordinator and head coach and going for it. You lose because of a pass interference call. The defense is so good. It's kind of like what you said with the Jets, right? The Jets defense is carrying them a little bit. Same
It's
with
so good, except for when you
it's so
decide to
bad
run press man in 2 minute when the team needs a chunk play and it bites you in back-to-back weeks.
every time. But I just feel like I just feel like that defense is better than every defense in decidedly mid, even the Broncos, who you put there because their defense is so good. And then I felt like what we did, putting up 40, yeah, we get Panthers and the Cowboys. I just feel like the offense, and also have to take into account how many injuries we have and where we have these injuries. Not how many, it's where the injuries are. We
You,
have injuries in positions we absolutely could not afford to have injuries in.
the problem with that is it's the Saints. We're injured like this every year, so you can't really use injuries as an excuse because it's almost an expectation, and that just speaks to we need to get, I don't know if it's strength staff, medical staff, what we do in practice. Something is going wrong. I mean, we're the same team that misdiagnosed a player that had like was it a broken leg. We were like, oh yeah, it's like a contusion.
Oh yeah, it's like a sprained ankle. Like no, my ankle's finna fall off
Yeah,
the bone, and
but
you
no,
just have
we
a sprained
had a
ankle.
player with a broken, I think it was leg, that we misdiagnosed. This was a while ago, but I think it's still the same medical staff.
Was it?
Misdiagnosed as a
Was it?
contusion.
It wasn't. Shit. Was it Keenan Lewis?
Was it
I
Delvin
know they.
Bro? I think it was
Oh,
Delvin Bro.
Delvin Bro. Yeah, I knew. I knew it was one corner that played with it. It was Delvin Bro. They misdiagnosed him, and obviously they misdiagnosed uh Mike Thomas. But it's so weird because we found a heart issue with God damn it, what's that D lineman's name? It was on the tip of my tongue. We signed him from the Lions. I was looking so forward to having him
Oh,
on the team.
yeah. It's on the
Oh, he
tip of
was a
my
really
tongue.
good. He's a really good fish
This is
tackle.
like 10 years ago, but would have been, he was one of the best D tackles in the league at the time.
Hold on, I'm quickly looking up.
But anyway, while he looks that up, we're not going to yap about the Saints too much because we do
Oh,
that.
they also found Sauce Moreau cancer too. So our fucking med staff is so weird, so weird.
But anyway, we yap about the Saints too much, so we're not making this an entire Saints segment. As for the ranking, so how do you rank a team that's simultaneously a contender and time to panic? That is
Solid,
where
solid team.
that
Solid
is where
team.
the Saints are right now. After
Give them
week
solid
2,
team.
up here. After week 4, right here, time to panic. I mean, I hate doing this. I absolutely hate doing this as a fan. I'm putting them in decidedly mid until they prove to me otherwise. Until we can beat the Falcons when they don't score an offensive touchdown. Until we can beat a team that we have on the ropes and they have to go drive down and have a crazy drive to win it. That's a decidedly mid team. It sucks, but that's the performances the Saints have put up. They dominated the first 2 weeks against bad teams. I think the Eagles are a bad team. They're better than those two teams, but should have won that game. Looked terrible and didn't win, even though the Eagles tried to hand it to us. Then we go against the Falcons. We're clearly the better team, but like you said, muffing the punt, terrible pick six, just all of these things. Unfortunately, this is a mid team right now.
Nick
Moving
Fairley,
on.
by the way, guys. Found the name. Nick Fairley.
Nick Fairley,
That was a defense
yes.
with the heart. Oh man.
That
What a
sucked, but we needed
he
him
had a
to. But
career high in tackles and sacks. And then man. Yeah, I think it was the year that we signed him. He had a career high in tackles and sacks, and then we gave him a 4-year, $30 million extension. And the same medical staff that didn't know somebody's neck was fractured or broken or leg was broken, and the same medical staff that didn't know that I think thought Michael Thomas's like damn near broken ankle was turf toe. Somehow, someway found a heart defect with this guy, and then found cancer in Foster Moreau, and also found something in Kiki, what's his name? Kiki and Wildway, uh, the punt returner from the Vikings, to where he couldn't sign here. So I don't know.
I don't know.
I,
It's
the
it's
medical
almost
staff
like
is
they
the same
should
as the
just be
team.
focusing on diagnosing diseases and working at a hospital instead of diagnosing injuries. But I
Well,
digress. We need to move
we
on.
are
This
we're,
was supposed to be a
well,
quick segment, and it's been anything but that.
we're
So
terrible at it. We're terrible at going quick. All right,
we
who's
are
next?
terrible.
Falcons.
That's the thing. We
Falcons.
just skip
Mid.
mid.
Actually, ass. We have to do it. We have to do it. We have to do it. For the memes, ass. I'm putting him in ass. Cause fuck
Putting
them. Fuck the Falcons. Fuck them. I don't care. This our, you know what? This is your show, man. This is your show. You're a Saints fan. You know what to do. You know what to do.
they're at the bottom of ass. I mean, there's you know what? I will give the Falcons some credit. I will give them some credit and say they're better than the Panthers.
They're better than the Panthers.
Moving on to the NFC West, we've got the
Well, you didn't put the
division.
Panthers. Did you put the Panthers there? Ass. We know who the Panthers are. Ass.
Oh
Put them with
yeah,
the
no,
ass.
I'll put the Panthers right behind the Falcons. But moving on, we've got division leading Seahawks in the NFC West. Who would have thought that? Now they did just get whooped by the Lions, and you could say that all their wins were against pretty bad teams. I mean, they beat the ass Patriots. They beat the time to panic Bengals, and they beat who was the other one? I'm gonna blank it out on this. The Broncos, who are mid. Where do you put the Seahawks?
3-1. You lost to a solid team. Uh, Solid team. I don't right now. I think they're better than the Saints, who are at the top of the decidedly mid. I mean,
I agree. I'm gonna put them at the
a win's
bottom
a
of
win,
solid
man.
team
Win
though.
is winning. Winning's winning.
They're winning, and hey, it's like we say, win ugly early, win however you need. Those wins are wins, and they add up as the season goes on. I'll put them at the bottom of solid team right now with who we have because I don't think they're better than any of those teams. Maybe Washington they are better than, but
I
how
think
they
they need to really
if
ask
we look,
themselves how far can Gino Reed take us, and maybe we should look for another option. That's what
but
I think.
if you look at trends, I think that's fair. Moving on, we've got the 49ers surprisingly at 2-2. This is a weird team.
I am gonna make a statement. I know I said there's all this shit about you're a contender automatically if you play in the Super Bowl and da. Yeah, but I'm giving them time to panic. Because god damn it, I talked myself into it. Christian McCaffrey every single damn week it's like he just have a calf strain. Nope, he has a kid tonight. Nope, now he has bilateral, and next week gonna be nope, he doesn't have a leg anymore. So I'm time to panic because your starting running back is getting hit with the Madden curse. Yes, Jordan Mason is doing well, but that's just Shanahan thing.
Well,
Um,
that's the thing. It's a Shanahan thing, so it's going to be plug and play. That loss to the Rams is terrible. The loss to the Vikings, at the time, people were saying, oh, that's a bad loss. Well, Vikings, we have them as a contender right now. I mean, they're 4-0, look great. That was on the road for the 49ers. They look good this week, but it's against the Patriots. Their schedule the next 2 weeks is the Cardinals and Seahawks before they take on the Chiefs. I think if they lose either one of those games and then are facing the Chiefs, it's time to panic. But right now, I think they're fine. I'll throw them in.
I think maybe I'm just projecting a little bit. because I think there's just players on there that are making me say that this is time to panic. Because you paid Brandon Ayuk and he has not come on. He's actually played worse. Um, you have injuries right now that you're dealing with, and on top of all that, you are starting slow, so slow for a team that is fresh off of a pretty good game against the Chiefs. A game you could say they should have won in the Super Bowl. For them to be sitting 2-2 is not okay. But I'm fine putting them aside team. But I think one more week of this, and
That's what
they'll put their
exactly.
asses firmly in time to panic. Um, Best team in time to panic though,
That's what
mind you.
that's what I'm saying. Right now, they're a solid team. They're hanging in there. I'm gonna give them credit where credit's due. They're a well coached team. Got a lot of talent. If they can get healthier, that'll help them out a lot. But if they lose either of their next two games, it's time to panic. It's, I'll almost say, even though that they're the tougher team, especially if they lose. I mean, no, if they lose to the Cardinals, that's just bad. But if they lose to the Seahawks, they're behind the eight ball against the Seahawks already. Have to win that game just to split. Seahawks get to pull away in the division a bit. And then they got to play the Chiefs. So you're a solid team now, but lock in or it's time to panic. But Cardinals, we've got them next.
I don't want to
Decidedly
throw them in
mid.
the ass, and I don't know how I can possibly fit them into time to panic. So I think if I was really honestly, if I'll probably say
No,
they're just one ass. You know, maybe not ass, but I don't know. What are they panicking about? I mean,
that's what I was gonna say. I was thinking they're decidedly mid, but then I look at the teams that are here. They're worse than the Eagles. They're maybe worse than the Bengals. I mean, Bengals are more talented, but they don't perform. I'll put them right in between the Bengals and the Cowboys. I think the one thing they have to panic about is year two with this coaching staff not looking too hot. If it continues, might be time to panic for their jobs in year three. Rams, definitely time to panic. But how much are you panicking?
are they time to panic though? Outside of the injuries, I mean, okay, I'll say it like this: time to panic for Cooper Cup because this is year two of you throw him the ball more than 5 times a game and he's just gonna die. Um, Kyron Williams, he's good. Matt Stafford, he's good. But you find yourself in this situation again where you are scrounging for receivers. You don't have Aaron Donald to save your ass on defense anymore. Um, but again, I don't. I mean, outside of the injuries, I mean, I don't really know what you're panicking for. I mean, they to me are a mid team. That's just what they are. Uh, I mean, you got injuries. Uh, I mean, you just
See,
like I said, I don't really know what what are you panicking for? I mean, there's nothing that has happened. None of these losses have been indicators of that shouldn't have happened. Like it's
I mean,
just,
I don't know. They lost 41-10 against the Cardinals.
hey man, look, I always tell people this when it comes to divisional games or interdivisional games. I I I take those with a grain of salt because I understand how hard division rivals play against each other, and it really doesn't matter what the records are.
I mean, yeah, look at their win
You're
against the
always gonna
Niners.
get a hard yeah, you know what I mean? You're always gonna get a hard game out of your division rivals.
And we need
So
to get out of here, though, so I think
I'm
time to
fine with
panic.
coming mid. Time to panic or mid doesn't really matter. Fuck them. I
They're
don't
1-3.
care.
It's time to panic. Where do you rank them?
Um, I'm fine with putting them either in between Chicago and the Dolphins or above Chicago.
I think by virtue of Chicago beating them, I'll put Chicago over them. And just because I think Chicago has more room to improve. Well, no. I mean, if the Rams get healthy, they're going to be the better team. Yes, the Bears just beat them, so it's kind of weird. But I think I still like the Rams more over a whole season. So here we have it, though. This is our tier list. we want to reiterate that we were being stingy on contenders because we don't want to just hand that out to anyone. You've got to be.
And of course, the Falcons. Nope, the Falcons are asshats. No, I ain't even gonna say it. Nope, Falcons are asshats. I don't want to hear nothing. I don't want to see no ats. I don't want anybody. But the Falcons is that. Don't worry about it. If you know, you know.
They deserved it. That's why they were there. But that's about it. This is how we rank the teams. So if you disagree, because I'm sure that there will be plenty of people that disagree with our list, leave a comment and say why we're stupid and why your favorite team should be where they should be. But Calvin, any other closing thoughts about this list?
I mean, the Saints should be contenders, but that's about it.
Should be, but
They're
look what
not.
we did.
No, that's it, man. I don't have anything else. It's almost 1 a.m. I ain't got shit else.
That's it for our middle tier list. We just wanted to check in, take stock of all the NFL teams because, like we said at the beginning, there hasn't been really any teams pulling away this year. So it's nice just to work through and say, where do you think all these teams that are all clumped up are, and how do you rank them? This is what we got. Let us know what you think, and that'll be it. And with that, we're also going to take out the stream. We've been going for 3 hours, just absolutely yapping. We were supposed to do a nice little quick segment to close it off, go rank the teams. Nope, that lasted over an hour. But, I mean, what do you expect? We like talking ball.
Of course.
Calvin, I think we might have lost, but anyway, let's just take.
No, I'm still here. I said, yeah, we do like talking ball. We yap. I don't know if me and my mic got disconnected. I don't know, but yeah, we're sorry, but not really. Um, I'm really more sorry for us because we keep doing this, and it's always like 1 a.m. when we finish. Every time, we just keep doing this. You know what? I'm gonna blame Preston for that. So,
Well, I'm always a fan of blaming Preston, so I'm with you there. Shout out special guest Preston for making a brief cameo on this episode, though. And with that, we're out of here.